Welcome everyone to a brand new season of Middle Division Smite here at GSL. I hope everyone's doing well and excited for the season we've got coming up. We've got some returning faces to the league, some new ones, but today we have Goosedra versus Kinkai's, two teams looking to make their presence known to the rest of the league. My name is Pentacruel, walking you through what I think is going to be quite an exciting game of Smite today. Breaking everything down in chair 2 is Dr. Shrew. Doctor, how are you doing?
Doing good. Excited to head into this one.
Yeah, it's looking to be a very, very exciting game here. It's very early on to call, first game week of the season, but we're looking to have a very, very strong team in Kinkai's. Some of the best players in their classes that they're predicted to finish quite well here up in this season. And then we have Goosedra, another team of players who are very high up in their classes, Lockie being team of the season last year in the ADC. So it's all up in the air today as we see Circadian Rhythm taking their first victory, putting themselves up in rank 1, and we will be finding out who will be joining them at the top of the table today. Hoping to come into picks and bans very, very soon. Kinkai's picking up that first pick position. Doctor, this season with the new faces and new players comes with the changes that the differences in gameplay that we saw from last season. Obviously, crit reigning very highly. So we had the crit nerfs, and then we have all of the mitigation changes. What are you predicting each team to prioritize here?
I feel like solo lane is a really good place to kind of prioritize in these early few picks to get that important frontline member set up for the team. And there's so many good choices between the Vamana and the Guan Yu and the Hercules. Even things like the Horus can make quite a big impact. So I imagine we see some solo prioritization in at least the top 3 here of this draft.
Yep, and we've got X-Puko coming up for Kinkai's and Shinigami on Goosedra, so will we see if they prioritize their solo lane picks? Still some solo lane picks up on the board as Kinkai's take away Emoja and Marticarus. Goosedra elects to take away some jungle picks, taking away from Morton, who I think it's fair to say is probably one of the stronger junglers in the league, if not the strongest. Seems like every Kinkai's team that he plays for, all of the pressure and the direction of play goes through him. So Goosedra looking to limit his picks. He knows he can play Saw and Saket, taking away Hachiman as well. Top pick for Kinkai's, Sun Wukong, like you said, very, very safe solo laner.
He is. I am excited to see what he'll be able to do on this Sun Wukong. They got that buff for him in 10.5 to increase the damage of his cudgel, which is helpful in that laning phase and in team fights. And as you said, he's very safe. Should be able to rotate around the map with that bird form fairly easily to make his presence known outside of the lane as well.
That rotation capability and the damage to be able to clear the waves as well. Quite high pressure lane there as we see Goosedra respond in kind with Yanis and Tyr. So Tyr going to be coming up against the Sun Wukong. How do you favour that matchup?
It should be fairly close. Both very high pressure solo picks and in a good spot right now. But if I had to pick one, I'd be leaning towards the Tyr. Fearless, and that combo that he's able to do with the wave is just so hard to deal with for most solo laners. Yeah, definitely siding with Goosedra in their solo lane matchup.
Yep, two very strong and safe solo laners. Of course, Tyr having
time to turn this battle
adding
in
the
our
stun,
favor.
just adding a bit more to his kit, making someone who was already quite high prioritized in the league even more dangerous. Goosedra also picking up the Yanis here. It's not a pick that we see a lot. It's fair to say that in competitive play it can be pretty hit or miss.
It definitely comes down to how comfortable the mid laner is going to be on this pick. He can definitely bring a lot, the Yanis can, with that global ultimate allowing him to move the team around the map and shred objectives and secure objectives. But as you said, if you're not comfortable and able to play it to the highest level that it can be played, it can be a bit underwhelming there in the mid lane. But if nothing else, that global presence that he'll be able to bring for his squad will be felt all across the map.
Yep, and speaking of global presence, Kinkai is drafting Athena as well, so we have a battle of the global presences here. Of course, you'd say that Janus maybe has a bit of an advantage being able to teleport his entire team with the through space and time. Athena, though, is going to make sure that the side lanes are safe no matter what time in the map. ganks as long as that ultimate is up. Second phase of bans coming through here. Ymir, Fenrir, and Susanoo. Again, Goosedra really hammering these bans away to Morten. Morten is a player that, like I said, a lot of the action is pulled through him. He can play things from like the Kali, if the meta favors, along to the Thor. With the picks that are remaining, what would you like to see Morten pick up to sort of round off this draft?
The two that come to mind the most for that jungle role would definitely be Bakasura, who can still kind of build that crit or go the penetration route if that's the way they decide to go. And the Camazotz is also still on the table, a very safe pick that has good initiation and kind of 1v1 potential, at least the two that my eyes move towards.
Well, I think a few of us watching can remember Morten did play quite a bit of that Camazotz, so I think that's a very good shout to see him picked there. Goosedra picking up the Hell. I think we can assume that that is going to be Hell support. Hell support is a bit divisive at the minute, with mages being in the strongest position they've been in a while to play in that role, pushing out big tanky guardians. How do you feel this Hell is going to fare into this team that King Kaiser's draft?
Hell has the potential to be really good in any game, especially into this draft. That cleanse that she brings could save people from the Scylla route, the Confound out of Athena with that taunt, the Wild Hunt polymorph, lots of different things, but it's very execution based, much like the Giannis, but even to like more of a bigger extent. The healing is impactful, the damage and the slows are nice, but it's, to me at least, it's all about that cleanse, and if we're going to be able to see Raging use that to the fullest extent to try to shut down what King Kaiser can be able to do with their draft.
It's going to be very difficult to time that cleanse with what looks to be an Athena Taunt Scylla combo. That is going to be deadly there for King Kais. Goosedra wrapping up their draft. Izanami on the board for Loki. Again, can be quite safe ADC to pick. Going up against Kernanos. A lot of pressure with those cleave autos. What are your thoughts so far at the minute of these two drafts?
It seems like to me Kinkai's have just drafted pure aggression. You mentioned that Scylla Athena combo. If you can get the taunt off into a Sikkim and a Crush, not to mention the I'm a Monster, just so much damage in an AoE fashion that can come through. Seems like Kinkai's will be able to just walk towards what Goosedra is doing and try to be the ones being aggressive here. But Goosedra on the other side have quite a bit of ability to kind of react to that CC quite well, with the tier being able to peel for his team, that cleanse we talked about on the Hell. And if you walk out of Habois, he can just hit one of his 3 ultimate buttons there and kind of delete you.
Yeah, I'd agree. King Kai's draft is looking very, very scary. There's a lot of CC, global rotation. It seems like they've got the lot. Well, I'm being told that game is about starting right about now, so we can take you to game 1 of King Kai's versus Goosedra. Doctor, as we said, the two drafts, it looks like, on paper, I would say King Kai's has a stronger draft in terms of focus. They clearly know that they're going to be wanting to engage with Ginger Archer, and then they have the follow-up of Morten and Maritak there to finish off any kills. Maybe Goosedra are going to be focusing a lot on the global rotation potential that Wolfie is going to bring, but where else do you see the pressure is going to be able to come out for this Goosedra team?
I feel like for Goosedra, it's going to be a definite focus on the dual lane. You mentioned it on the desk. There's so much pressure that an Izanami can bring during the laning phase and should be able to outdo anything that this Cernunnos is trying to do from a distance. And then that Hell should be able to bring quite a bit of early game damage just with those base mage stats, even with that Lonos Mask being built. That dual lane should be a prioritization for Goosedra.
Yeah, we'll be seeing if Calvin is going to be making his way over there. As we say, Izanami not a pick that we get to see a lot, but of course, OBX playing the Kernanos. It's a pick that's highly contested, one of the best ADCs. So hopefully we'll be seeing a very good matchup there. Rotating over to the solo lane, it's probably not going to be too busy in the early game. These two picks looking just to get their items online. It looks like Puko there is going for the Transcendence. What are your thoughts?
I feel like building at least a little bit of damage on a Sun Wukong is pretty standard. I like that start out of him over there. And as you said, I don't imagine we'll see too many fireworks, at least in the 1v1, barring some sort of mistake. Both gods pretty safe and have the ability to, heal both with the ultimate out of Sun Wukong and that defensive stance that tier has. So it's all going to be about how they fare through this laning phase, who can come up with a little bit of an advantage levels wise and rotate into these fights and make a bigger impact.
Rotations are definitely going to be a big part of this game. We've got two sets of global abilities that are going to be able to help give each team some pressure. Just as Shinigami here puts Buko under a little bit of pressure, but the Sun Wukong isn't too bothered. He's just going to back now and heal up. But another point I wanted to raise, Doctor, the healing changes that we've seen this season, would you have expected a bit more healing to come out on the side of the King Kais here? Do you feel that Goosedra drafting the only real mainstay healer in Hell in the game is going to maybe prove to be of benefit to them?
Yeah, especially once we get later into this game and we start having objective dances and objective fights, the ability to sustain that Gooster will have with this Hell should make quite a big difference in who can continuously stay present around these objectives. And if some sort of fight happens, as we see this purple buff invade attempt here, looks like it was successful. If a fight does break out before the objective is pulled, it'll be much easier for Gooster to just kind of top up those health bars and make sure that they're the ones that can step into these objective pits.
First objective invade down on the map in favor of Gooster, Calvin being the first jungler to make his stamp on the map. It's going to be a very big battle of the junglers, I think. Morton, as I've said before, he is on his a very well comfortable pick in the Camazots. He's played it a lot, and he's very safe. He's probably one of the stronger junglers in the league. As you see his draft here, do you feel like they're going to entirely be looking towards fights in the late game, seeing as they have drafted this Scylla and this Camazots, both two picks that are very, very strong at the late game?
I do feel like Kinkais have drafted a later game comp where they should have an advantage with that Scylla in particular. As you said, once that passive kicks on and all of her abilities get augmented, she will bring so much more into these team fights. But now that everybody has hit that level 5 mark and has those ultimates on, it's not to say that Kinkais don't have the ability to fight in the early game. I'm a Monster is going to do a lot of damage regardless of what point in the game you're at. And if Athena can land those taunts, if Ginger Archer makes the rotation somewhere and can set up for his mid laner, I feel like we could be seeing some early fireworks as well out of this Kinkais team.
Yep, Ginger Archer, again, another player that's on a pick quite comfortable, played a lot in the support role last year, so eyes will be going towards him to make sure that Maritak can get off the damage that is needed. As we say, ultimate's up, not a lot of pressure coming out so far. It's a very EU style of game at the minute. The only real amount of pressure that's come out is on this solo lane. Puko looking to steal away with mid quite low. Ultimate comes in from Shinigami. Puko yet again dashes under tower and nothing quite happens there. As we see, Morton makes his first attempt into the left lane to put some pressure out on this shield buff. But I don't see too much coming from this. I mean, all the ultimates are still up. Hold on, I say that. Maritek has made the transition in. I'm a Monster takes down Calvin. Morton up into the skies. Second bit of the ultimate does not hit by Maritek. Morton jumps in. Good body blocks there, but it looks like the support of the Gooster will go down. Sikkim down on top will make sure that is a double kill there for Kinkais.
It's like Maritak heard what I was saying about the I'm a Monster and immediately decided to put into effect the able to use that ultimate to clean up that first kill of the team fight and allow them to chase out the second kill there. Sikkim good, as you said, to get that kill. And that's exactly the start that you want if you're Kinkais. We've talked about how they have sort of that later game focus with this draft, and if you can get off to an early start, you get that first blood and a double kill for your mid laner to give them that extra gold in hand. It's exactly what Kinkais want here to try and snowball this into the mid to late game.
I mean, just as we were talking about how it's going to be important about the solo laners rotating, you know, Wolfie having his ultimate through space and time to be able to rotate, it's actually the Kinkais Scylla who makes that very important rotation to get the double kill there. Nice bit of a lead gold-wise against Wolfie. But yeah, that looks to be the strategy that King Kai's have at the minute. I think it's going to be making sure Maritek is as strong as he can be until the late game. As we see the Gold Fury battle round the left. No, that's just a little bit poke onto Ginger Archer. Speaking of objectives, though, who are you favouring in terms of team over to gain control over these objectives?
When it comes to the setup before the objectives and the poke battle, I definitely have to give this to Goosedra just because of that sustain that we've talked about so much already. But actually burning and securing the objectives is pretty close. I mean, through space and time is a good secure option that Goosedra will have, but so is I'm a Monster on that other side for Kinkai's. So it's gonna really come down to who can pilot it better, as we have a bit of a fight here in duel lane.
Bit of a fight. Lockie seems to have made out in time okay. Bede's still up. Looks to re-engage here as through space and time comes through, but it looks like King Kai's are just a bit too far. That came a bit early there from Goosedra.
I like the attempt there from that through space and time to make that rotation, and he has still made it over. Could be some more damage as the bees are forced out.
Hold that thought though. Morton managed to make some space up into the air. It doesn't look like it's going to go too much as Goosedra go full retreat mode. Is that the ultimate coming through from Ginger Archer? Morton's been knocked up into the air. A lot of damage, but it's again the Scylla. Managing to get all that damage off. Misses the second I'm a Monster. Hits the stun, but doesn't quite have the damage enough to kill Kurama there. The Goosedra support making it out. It seems it's all going in favour of Kinkai's at the minute.
It really is. The rotations out of both teams coming through there. Goosedra had the earlier rotation via that through space and time, but it was just a little bit off the mark. The members of Kinkai's were able to back up towards their tower before that rotation came through, and then the counter rotation out of Kinkai's was enough to get that pick for them and give this Scylla that Maritek is piloting yet another kill under her belt and push her even further ahead, which is a Scylla that gets a lead and that can get these early kills is terrifying as we start to head towards the mid game.
Yeah, a Scylla with a lead is for sure terrifying. Maritek putting on a great show here for the Scylla. Morton over here taking a bit of pressure over on the gold buff here, but I mean, coming around to the 10-minute mark, King Kai's having a little bit of the kill lead, but Goosedra actually surprisingly having the gold lead here.
Yeah, I was just thinking the same thing, that we've obviously 3-0 in kills. There's a lot of poke damage comes onto that Sun Wukong, but he'll be completely safe. The kills definitely in favor of Kinkai's, but it seems like Goosedra's just able to farm the map so well to stay nearly even here in this game. Looks like Wolfie might be around a half level down on his mid lane opponent, but being down 3 kills, even on a Giannis, you'd expect a bigger gap there. So it's a good job out of Goosedra to just work this map to the level that they are currently doing.
Definitely credit to the team for hold that thought. Big damage coming out onto Calvin here. I'm a Monster over the wall. Can it quite hit? Duke by Calvin. Very well done there. Looks like the ultimate spent. Kill not gained. Calvin will retreat back to base. So that unfortunately did not come to anything there. Potentially 4 kills there for Maritek, but very, very unlucky not to hit the I'm a Monster. But as we were saying, I think it's credit to the Goosedra team here for as well as poorly as these team fights have been going for them, with the gold being in their favor at the minute, and level-wise, the only one really being down at the minute being Calvin. They seem to all be playing very well. I'd be very interested as the Ginger Archer, the ult comes out there. Maybe that was just defensively to prevent the Goosedra support from putting on any pressure, but that was a strange one. Ultimate won't be down. Will that be very important in potentially a Gold Fury fight coming up?
It could. I mean, we're about 11 minutes into this game. Gold Fury is definitely on the menu for either of these two squads. Seems like Kinkai's just wanted to make sure that there wasn't a spill for the Cernanos of OBX, and it allowed them to get aggressive positioning around this Gold Fury, and they could be wanting to pull it rather soon as they're forcing out the members of Goosedra back towards their tower. Might be impactful, especially if this fight kind of moves from the Gold Fury pit towards the Pyromancer here before this ultimate can come back up.
Yeah, all the team fight seems to be happening at the Goosedra purple buff there, so that's going to be one to look out for just as the buffs come around. As we do see Goosedra putting on a bit of a response here, looking for this Pyromancer just to secure a bit more of their leaders that has fallen around to Kinkai's. Manages to get that Pyromancer, very, very sneaky play there. Janasalt comes through from Wolfie. Looks like they're teleporting his entire team through to the Gold Fury.
They are headed in that direction. A good steal away from the Pyromancer. Didn't even look like Kinkai's were aware of it happening without that ward coverage. Beads forced out by Calvin. And that ultimate was used to get his team towards the Gold Fury pit, but it seems like maybe Wolfie wanted to go for that play and the rest of his squad weren't quite on the same page. Now
Yeah,
it's Kinkai's are the ones who are pulling this Gold Fury.
Bit of miscommunication there from Goosedra gives Kinkai's the lead. Yanasalt is down, so secure. You would think would be on Kinkai's side. The Crush managing to hit well. That's Kinkai's Gold Fury and a bit of pressure onto Lockie. He seems to be in a bit of trouble here. Bat out hell up in the sky. Lockie being chased down here by the team. Morton picks up that kill. I'm a monster. Doesn't hit home. Duo lane down for Goosedra. Again, Meritek 4-0-1. 100% kill participation on this Scylla.
Yeah, just so much damage coming out of Mertek there, but we had talked about how comfortable Morton is on this Camazotz, and I feel like we saw a great example of it there. He was able to chase out the Itsunami, keep on her, and perfectly timed that bat out of hell to dodge the Dark Portal that Lockie put down to try and peel for himself, and was able to just set up for his team there and get his first kill of the game. 1-0-4 on the Camazotz, also 100% kill participation for his squad. So they are definitely grouping as a unit, as we can see that Ginger Archer as well has that 100% kill participation. This is just Kinkai's grouping up and sort of deathballing around the map to exert their will, and it's working for them here so far.
This is a very, very good show of Kinkai's power, showing everyone in the league that they are the team to beat. Coming after Circadian Rhythm win 2-0, they'll be looking up to join them at the top of the bracket. As we're talking about Kinkai's and the success that they're finding in these team fights, luck's not really going the way of Gooster now. With that Gold Fury, they're falling a little bit behind in gold-wise, about 1,000. Pyromancer down, Gold Fury down. Are you looking for them to maybe just farm up and look towards the next objective, whether that do be the Gold Fury, or are you looking for them to maybe look at getting a pick and fighting their way back into this game?
I mean, they've been doing such a good job of farming the map, even with trading out the Pyromancer for that Gold Fury. Gold Fury worth a little bit more, which is why we see the Kinkai's having that slight gold lead, especially with all the other picks. But if they can keep just farming up this map, trying to push it towards some of these later game objective dances, they have that sustain, and especially with this tier of Shinigami picking up that Transcendence, he's going to do a kind of unexpected amount of damage once he rotates into these team fights. It could be something for Goosedra to play through.
Yet again, more action we're seeing down on this Goostra's purple buff. It's just been non-stop here. As the huge damage comes out there by Calvin, the crushing wave did so much damage there, managing to take down the ADC of Kinkai's as more pressure gets down. Big taunt there, manages to secure 2 kills there for Kinkai's. Puko manages to take kills, but he will fall down in trade as Wolfie manages to remove him from the equation. All this fighting going on, but that seems to be the small sign of life there from Goosedra. They've at least shown that they can get a little bit out of these fights now.
Another kill on the back end for this Scylla in mid, who might be in a bit of trouble. Beads forced.
Beads force, definitely. Ultimate use. Good juke there by Meritek. He manages to stun. Turns the kill round on Shinigami. Huge play there from Meritek. The mid laner of Kinkai's, Morton, showing him how it's done. The bit of the taunt there. Goosedra really tunneling in on shutting down Kinkai's mid laner. He's just turned and shut the door in their face.
So much happened in that fight, all the way starting from when it was near that tier 2 over in duo. It looks like Kinkai's might have been a little overconfident, at least at first, stepping up that far. They do lose a member right off the bat with OBX falling, but then they just have that rotation. They manage to show up in numbers and turn that around in their favor, which just shows how confident this Kinkai's team is when they're grouped and when they're fighting. And then just the over aggression out of Shinigami there to try and get that kill onto Meritech. I understand she is a 5-0-4 Scylla. That shutdown bonus would be nice for the entirety of the team, but just not quite respecting the slipperiness that Scylla brings, especially with Morton on that Camazotz to help peel.
Just over 16 minutes gone in the game, 9-2 in favour of Kinkai's with just a little bit over a 2,000 gold lead. We're seeing a lot of pressure from Kinkai's onto the left side of Goosedra. Morton making his presence known as they start up the Gold Fury here. A little bit of a slow response here from Goosedra, but they are here in time before it falls. Be quite interesting to see how this turns out. Through Space and Time comes out very early there. Surely now this should be looking for Kinkai's to turn around on the Gold Fury. The big bit of damage left for them, or for Goosedra, sorry, to return favour on this Gold Fury is going to be out of Calvin. But they look to zone out so far. Not much happening. Bits of poke coming out from each team. Looks like Kinkai's have turned their attention back to the Gold Fury. It sits about half health. Puko here zoning away, but yet again, it's just turn tails and run here for Kinkai's as Goosedra look to get aggressive.
This is exactly the dance that we've been talking about with that sustain that the Hell can bring a good ult from the tier. Looks like this fight will continue back towards the Gold Fury pit.
Crushing Wave misses just about as Morton goes up into the air and dives onto the ADC of Goosedra. Wolfie falls to Ginger Archer. Morton manages to pick up Lockie there. It's a very scrappy fight. Morton looking low, but looks like he manages to get out as Maritek and OBX take out two members of Goosedra. It looks like Shinigami is going to fall as well. It looked so good there for Goosedra. They were looking to have regain control over the Gold Fury pit, but yet again, Kinkai's just showing how well their team fight is.
You know, all the sustain that I've brought up multiple times that I thought would be impactful around this exact type of moment doesn't matter if you're just all dead. Kinkai's just baited them backwards, made them come into their side of the jungle, and then said, well, now it's our turn, stepping forward and just completely wiping away Goosedra, able to get a 4-for-none, pick up that Oni Fury and the tier 1 tower in mid. Looks like Pyromancer going to be next on the menu. And this Kinkai's team, when they group as 5, it just seems to be so well coordinated, able to just turn around these scrappy team fights every single time.
Like we said, Kinkai's very strong in these fights. But on that note, would you say, with regards to the obviously the healing that's coming out from this hell not exactly being a big factor, the fights aren't exactly going very long. It seems to be over and done pretty quickly. Would you say that this is Goosedra just not playing their draft to their strengths, or would you rather just say that this is just a huge fight, a team fight diff, if you'd like, from Kinkai's?
I feel like there is a world where Goosedra can play a little bit more reactionary, which might work out better for them, just allowing Kinkai's to be the ones to initiate the fight and try to pick out someone in the backline, as we see a lot of members rotating onto this Athena, who should be fine to back up under the tower. But I feel like the beginning of that Gold Fury fight went really well for Goosedra. They did exactly what we've been talking about. There was poking back and forth. The fight was extended as the both teams danced around that Gold Fury pit. And then it was as if they got a little bored. They wanted to step up, and they stepped into that jungle, and that's exactly what Kinkai's were waiting for. So maybe in the future, if Goosedra can just play a little bit more patiently and continue that poke battle, they might be able to get something done, as a lot of damage gets turned around onto this hell.
Out of hell used, but no kill returned there for Kinkai's ultimate used onto Morton. You'd like to think that Morton, without that ultimate and B's down for 20 seconds, is going to be looked at as a pick from Goosedra to set up. As we look around this fire giant, it looks to me like Kinkai's are looking to get their ward vision out a little bit, step up a bit of a presence. Looks like there could be a fight round by this red buff here. Ginger Archer goes taunt in, beautiful, into the crush, into Scylla, big damage. Puko and Morton manages to pick those kills up. I'm a monster down, dodged by Calvin. That's the tier combo down onto the backline just to give his jungler a little bit of space. Blink down, tier ults out. Good disengage, but brilliant taunt there from Ginger Archer to set up what is yet again. It's the same combo seemingly every time. Ginger Archer goes in, the big CC, Maritek's crush. He must be doing so much damage right now. And then Morton and Puko there to pick up the pieces as we see the fire giant started here up by Kinkai's.
Yeah, it's as easy as 1, 2, 3 here for Kinkai's with that taunt into Scylla damage. It's just worked for them time and time again. The other thing that's not going to work for this sort of healing that Goosedra does have advantage over Kinkai's is if they don't completely group up. Before that fight started, we can see Locky is still over there trying to push out the wave, which I agree with. I feel like that is a good call to send your ADC over to try to farm up, to get some pressure, get some global gold with those structures. But if you're going to do that, the rest of the 4 members of this Gooster team should probably be grouped up. They got caught in a bit of a 3v5 there, as it looked like Shinigami was a little out of position compared to the rest of his squad, and it just gave the Kinkais the ability to step up and kind of put that fight to bed before it even started, which led to the first Fire Giant of this game.
First Fire Giant down in favour of Kinkai's. Gold lead growing here for the Order team. And a big XP gap in the jungle. We see Morton level 20 just finishing off his starter item there, favouring the protector of the jungle. He is going to be hitting very hard. Harder as he hit, harder than he was before. You say that being 4-0-8, he very clearly has been a very, very important part of how these Kinkai's team fight. But saying that, I mean, it's overall been a really good showing here from Kinkai's. I mean, Ginger Archer 1-0-12, been hitting those taunts very well. We see taunts in here onto Shinigami, a bit poke onto the Gooster solo laner, but it looks like Kinkai's are going to be set in their eyes on the tower instead. Probably going to be mopping up all of these towers and just taking out the rest of the global gold that is on the map before. Would you like to see them go for a Phoenix right now, or maybe is that a second Fire Giant sort of play?
The safe call is just to wipe these towers, not stepping into a Phoenix. But if they can get a pick, if Goostra decide to soft defend this mid tower like they're looking like they are, and one of them ends up falling, it could spell a Phoenix. But mostly you use this first Fire Giant to set up the map for the second Fire Giant to be the one that wins the game.
Yeah, that sounds like a Morton call to do as well. Anyone in GSL chat will be able to tell me that he's much rather take the safe towers and look for the second Fire Giant than look for these Phoenixes. So that's probably what we are going to see Kinkai's do here. As Gold Fury is up as well, they will fall back and take that. Puko here just zoning off the rest of Goostra. Taking a bit of poke, but not too much to worry about as they clean the jungle here. Almost encroaching, I say that now, just as it switches to a 10k almost gold lead here for Kinkai's as soon as this Gold Fury goes down. A bit of a steep hill to climb up here for Goostra. 15-2, the team fights aren't going the way they want. Objectives are not falling their way. How do you feel that they should turn their favour around and perhaps win this match? Or do you feel like this is a suck it up and go to game 2? With maybe a different composition?
I definitely feel like they're not out of this game yet. The game changes once you get into sieging and siege defense. Mifflin always says the game simplifies, which I feel like is a great way to word it, because you have sort of that sixth man in the Phoenix to help out on the defense. And Goostra have a pretty decent siege defense in overall. Giannis able to clear the wave fairly safely from the back, as well as the Itsunami can get some good poke damage in. And if Goostra can just, use that Phoenix as sort of a bastion of safety to make sure that their health bars are filled up with this hell, to make sure that they're able to clear these waves and get good poke damage onto Kinkai's, it's a little bit harder for players like Morton and Ginger Archer to get around back and set up these plays that could be happening here in the jungle.
Yep, hold that thought. Shinigami forced to ult out here. Goostra all the way back at their tower, and they're still not safe as Kinkai's looking to set up a little bit of a trap there to maybe to get a pick to even more secure this Fire Giant safely. But we see them retreat back to the Fire Giant. Little to no pressure here from Goostra, looking like that they're going to decide that this is something that they cannot contest. They're going to fall back to their Phoenix and defend. Probably a safe pick now. The gap that there is in gold is very heavily in favour of Kinkai's. They're going to be dealing a lot more damage as we see some starter items coming out here from Kinkai's on the mid, especially on that Scylla starting now level 20. The passive is going to be making sure all of the full effects of their abilities are active. And as we see Goostra here getting ready to defend this right side Phoenix, how well is their draft structured around a Phoenix defense?
feel like it is fairly good. It should work out in their favor as we see the blinking from the tier, and this fight starts off in proper duty.
Yep, starts off. Puko has to go up into the ult there. We saw the bomb go down and deal a little bit of damage onto the Phoenix, but really not much happened there. So that's bomb down for not much. Puko also forced to use the ultimate, as it looks like they are going to be forced to try again here at this Phoenix attempt. Puko looking like he is going to defend this left side Phoenix. Do you feel like they're going to, I mean, it's 3v5. Do you feel like they're going to, as we see the beast partner from Maratech on that Janus portal, surely they don't go in here?
No, I don't imagine there's a world that they go in. They're just trying to make sure that Goosedra doesn't feel completely comfortable stepping out of this Phoenix and getting any farm on the map. But without your solo laner here and with your Athena just now coming up, shouldn't have been a moment to go in. But with that teleport in from Puko on the Sun Wukong could mean the go button, as it seems like they're going for a bit of a 3-2 split here between mid and right.
3-2 split, but the backline here, big stun here. Maratech finally manages to get the kill there. Loki onto Kinkai's mid laner. This seems to be like a very good fight here for Goosedra. Ginger Archer uses the ultimate to give Puko that little bit of extra protection, but he goes up into the ult here as the damage comes back down. Morton forced out into the Bat of Hell. Sprout used to sort of separate the fight, but it looks like a very good fight here for Goosedra as Loki manages to pick up Morton through space and time, put it in front of him. Calvin manages to hit Ginger Archer, and that is a clean swipe almost from Goosedra. Very, very well played there by the Chaos side.
That is exactly what Goosedra needed. They would manage to catch out and get a huge pick onto Mertek, who's been so much of the damage here for the Kinkai squad, and they correctly recognize that as the go button, just rushing towards this Kinkai squad and picking them off one by one. We saw how tanky and hard to deal with Puko was, as he does manage to be the only one that leaves, but that's just a right side Phoenix completely burned away, and that just turns this game completely on its head. We were talking about the siege defense coming out of Goosedra. They managed to completely defend their birds against a team with Fire Giant, win the fight, and they're the ones that get that Phoenix over on the right side and manage to drop it and kind of catapult themselves back towards the ability to turn this game in their favor.
Definitely a very shocking turn of events there. Maybe a bit of a wake-up call for Kinkai's. Maybe we're a bit too cocky in that attack, or just didn't respect the damage that Goosedra could put out. But their team slowly scaling up as this game goes on. Starter items on level 20 starting to come out now on everyone except the support, as we're going to see Kinkai's look to take away this Pyromancer here and take away the bomb before Goosedra can. Shinigami and the Hell not quite managing to take it, but that should be all right. They should be pretty happy with how the game's going so far. They've proven that they're not out of it yet, as we look to have a little bit of dance around this Fire Giant.
And if you're Goosedra here, that team fight gave you all the confidence you needed to make sure that you're able to contest this Fire Giant, which will be an enhanced Fire Giant as a fight breaks out here in the pit. Good taunt to set things up. Doesn't look like either squad will be stepping in right off the bat. Fire Giant does respawn, and Goosedra have every opportunity to step up into here. If anything, they might have the gold disadvantage, but they have the map advantage with fire minions pouring down that right-hand lane.
That's another taunt coming through there by Ginger Archer, as Kinkai's look to push the acceleration down onto this fight. And it looks like ex-Puko manages to take down the Hell there. Battle of Hell used again. Maratech manages to knock down Calvin, and unfortunately this fight was looking good for Goosedra, but Kinkai's have managed to turn it around.
Again, it's just Kinkai's grouping so well and fighting so well with the team fight. Wild Hunt and I'm a Monster layered there to just do quite a bit of damage and force so many cooldowns out of Goosedra, which just allowed them to allowed Kinkai's, to just run at them and set it up. And it seems like they're baiting out more of a fight here, slowing and leashing that burn onto it.
Big damage!
What damage was that?
Shinigami manages to pick up Ginger Archer now. It was looking so good for Kinkai's, but more damage here through from Wolfie is saying, no, I will not let my team lose this game so easily. The mid laner for Goosedra dragging his team through with these big action kills here, as we see Loki and his support coming out of base towards this Fire Giant. It's looking like this is going to be a Goosedra Fire Giant here. Just as this game was looking worse and worse for them, they're turning it around here at the most important moments.
Giannis damage is something. He's not even full
It
built yet. Once
is.
he gets that Rata Tahuti on, I don't even want to see what he's going to be able to do. That is a huge play out of Wolfie that allows them to step into this EFG pit. Zoning by Shinigami, just trying to make sure that that mage can't step up, but he might be able to get there with I'm a Monster.
Looks like the Fire Giant was secured there by that through space and time, as it looks like they're teleporting all the way into this the back of this mid tier 2 here, trying to catch Xpuka out maybe, but not managing to. Looks like they'll be settling for these towers here as they strip the red buff and back off. This is the part of the game now where, as you mentioned, the hell healing is it's well on top of the Fire Giant that we see now, which will be enhanced coming past the 30-minute mark. This is the point in the game where the hell is going to be very important for Goosedra. They're the team that is a lot more set up at the moment to take these long, drawn-out fights. So, how would you see them go about? Do you see them taking a Phoenix on this Fire Giant?
Yeah, this is EFG. I feel like you have to use this to its full effect. They bought up some items, spent that gold that they had, and I'd like to see them now march down, wipe away these two towers in mid, and that Phoenix and right is already weakened. So if you can just, with EFG not needing those backdoor protections to be stripped by minions, you could push the wave down in mid and then send someone, probably Calvin on this Habwa, over to that right lane to just kind of step in and push down this right Phoenix at the same time, get a bit of a split going.
Big damage coming out there. Calvin taking a lot of damage, but yet again, as we see the taunt not come out quite well, it looks like King Kai's content here to fight outside of their Phoenix. Morton going up into the ultimate is very low, however, diving back into the back line of Goosedra. OBX manages to get on the wild hunt onto Shinigami. Big damage there. Xpuko is chasing out Calvin, who has to retreat. Ginger Archer and Wolfie putting on a bit of pressure onto Wolfie, I say. Morton and OBX managing to take down another. How? It was all looking Goosedra's way, and yet again, Kinkai's they put on the accelerator, and Goostra just, it seems like, can't handle the pressure.
Both of these teams are just finding deeper levels to dig down into when they need to. This game has been so back and forth once we've reached the late game here. And that was such good patience out of Ginger Archer on that taunt, chasing down the Giannis. It looked like he was about to hit that taunt button, and it forced out the cleanse from Kakashi, and he just waited until that cleanse was over, then managed to get the taunt and got both relics out of the mid laner of Wolfie in return, which is just top tier Athena play out of Ginger Archer. And meanwhile, there was just so much damage onto Laki on the Itsunami, who was unfortunately trapped in that 2v1. The fight just got out of hand, and Goosedra split apart trying to make it out, and it did not work in their favor.
A lot of players putting on a show. Ginger Archer showing how he is a vital asset to Kinkai's with the performance he's putting on. Very, very well played with this Athena. The taunts coming through, as you said. I mean, I can't tell you how this game is going to go. I mean, for the first 20 minutes, it was, from what we were seeing, it was for sure going to be a Kinkai's win. They had map control. They dominated even the whole of Goostra's left side of the map. They were dominating in kills. And Goostra then turn it around, managed to get a very good defense, which ends up leading to a Phoenix, the right side Phoenix for Goostra. And then around a Fire Giant, they then lose the fight. And it looks like they're going to maybe, okay, give this Fire Giant up. But then manage to get up more picks, pick up a Fire Giant, and just when you think they're about to put pressure onto the Kinkai's Phoenixes, they lose an important fight. I can't tell you how this game is going to end. What are your thoughts, Doctor?
I'm about at the same level as you are. I feel like we're at that point where gold and experience no longer truly matter.
No.
Support is about the only role where experience makes any sort of difference. It's going to come down to one clean team fight, and that could happen right here.
Good cleanse there, making sure Shinigami doesn't get locked down too much. A lot of very scrappy engagements coming out there as we see Wolfie having to turn tail and run. Shinigami hit by the huge ultimate there by Maritek. Calvin does get picked up there by Morton as it turns at the turn tail and run from Goostra. Puko wants a bit more, however, as he puts the bomb down onto the Phoenix of Goosedra, looking like King Kais are going to return for Phoenix of their own, but they're very low at the moment.
They don't get it. They don't get the Phoenix.
They
The health
don't
bars
get
are
it.
too low. That's another great defense out of Goosedra, and somehow Shinigami lived there. A great blink with that health cleanse and the health sustain allows him to make it out. And they don't get the Phoenix. They can back up to this Fire Giant, but Gooster have healthy members here in this pit, and it looks like they're the ones who are wanting to get aggressive, stepping into the jungle of the side of the Kinkais.
Neither team looking like they want to give either an inch. Big damage there coming out from Wolfie onto the support of King Kai's. Ginger Archer falls.
So
Wolfie
much.
manages to get another onto Morton. As the engagement looks to be going Gooster's way, Lockie has joined the fight here. Shinigami looking to put a bit more pressure down. Puko goes up into the ultimate. Big damage. Shinigami just manages to live. Puko looks to chase him down as we see beads used there by Maritek. Both sets of relics, sorry. As it looks like King Kai's retreating back towards their Phoenix. A good fight there from Goostra, looking to gain more position around this Fire Giant. Hopefully being able to make this the last one, as we see Shinigami teleporting in, looking to defend this Fire Giant. I mean, it's been so back and forth, but Goostra in the driving seat now.
Mages are pretty good. The damage that Wolfie and Mertak are able to put out in these last few engagements have just been surprising, absolutely blowing up the members on their opposing squad. As this Fire Giant starts to get burned, we see that Shinigami's on the zone. Fire Giant down to around half. Can Kinkai's make it into this pit to steal?
So much damage from OBX here as the solo laner is just soloed out there. It looks like the Fire Giant has gone towards Kinkai's as they look to close this set down. Puko manages to take out Calvin, Ginger Archer and OBX, chasing down the support here from Goostra as he runs into the rest of the team. Maritek picking up his 8th of the game, 8, 1 and 11 for the mid laner of Kinkai's here. This looks to be the end of the game. Enhanced Fire Giant round their waists, looking towards this mid lane Phoenix.
This is so much pressure on Wolfie and Lockie right now. They have a lot of damage in their kits. They've shown that they can fight well, but EFG on 5 members, and it looks like Kinkais are stepping into the Titan. Can they defend this on their own?
Taunted in, that's Wolfie annihilated by the tried and true combo from Kinkai's as Morton looks to put some damage out onto Lockie. He does manages to get the kill onto Ginger Archer, but Kinkai's take this very back and forth 38-minute game.
If you would have told me when we were still in the early game that Kinkai's are the ones that takes this, I would have believed you 100%. They were controlling that early game, but that does not do justice to how back and forth that game was. Both sides just absolutely giving it everything to try and get that win.
I mean, I said as the game started, Kinkai's looking to be one of the stronger teams in the league. Goostra maybe looks, I think, predicted to finish around mid, but they're showing that they're not one to be trifled with. They managed to put on some very good shows there. Unlucky in the end, I think it was just one team fight too much, as Kinkai's managed to pick up the win and the foothold in the set. As we see the stats come out here, huge damage numbers coming out from both mid laners of both teams here. But Lockie, 42,000 damage for the ADC of Goostra.
Yeah, he had just constant kind of sustained damage throughout all of those team fights. It was just flashy watching what the mid laners were able to do with their bursty damage. But that bursty damage wouldn't have done anything on the side of Goostra if Lockie hadn't have been there all that time. Itsunami just pumping out numbers. As you said, I feel like there was so many moments of greatness, and like you could see the light at the end of the tunnel if you're Goostra. They almost had that win. It just came down to one fight, which a lot of games do when you get that late into the match. When EFG has been up for the second or third time, it all comes down to just one team fight in the jungle, and that time it went the way of Kinsai's. But if Goostra can play through the mid game like they did in game 1 for the rest of the set, they definitely have every chance to take games off of Kinsai's here.
I think you'd agree. A very strong performance from everyone included. Unfortunate for Goostra there. not managing to take the game. King Kai's in the strong position here to take a 2-0. Will Goosedra be able to take the next set? We're going to a break here. We'll see you guys in a minute. Oh, fucking hell.
Just wanna keep it going, like the night is never over. From tonight until the morning, I just wanna get to know you. I just want to, baby, get to know you. If you want to, I just want to, baby, get to know you. I just want to, baby, get to know you. Get to know you. so close. And I think that you should know. I wanna feel you so close. I just want to maybe get to know you if you want to. I just want to maybe get to know you. I just want to maybe get to know you. Get to know you. Get to know you. I just want to. Get to know you.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome back. As King Kai's managed to take a strong 1-0 position in this set. The 1-0 lead maybe doesn't show just how close the last game was. Both teams had very good opportunities to win the game, but King Kai's coming out on top. Doctor, what are you looking for Goosedra to change to maybe swing the game 2 more in their favor?
I feel like if you're gonna go with bans, changing up the bans, you need to focus out this Athena that Ginger Archer was able to play. I feel like he did such a good job of setting up for his team. That Scylla had so much damage, but it would not have amounted to quite as much as it did if the Athena wasn't there to set up each team fight with that taunt. So it might be something to look to either ban away or pick up for yourself if you're Goosedra.
Yep, Ginger Archer definitely putting on a clinic there for that Athena. Goosedra, though, had some strong points in the game, shall we say? They didn't look so good in the early game. They were behind in kills, ahead in farm for a little bit, but did start to fall off as objectives started coming into play. And Calvin, unfortunately, on the Hebo, didn't quite manage to make his presence found so much. Would you like to see him on the Hawaii again, or maybe try and switch it up a little bit?
I feel like the Hebwa just didn't work into the draft that Kin Kai's had. We saw so many times where Morton was just able to head up into the bat out of hell and just kind of get out of the way of all of the damage
It's
that
time to
Calvin was
turn
trying
this
to put out.
battle in our
I'd like to
favor.
see him on a different pick or maybe a different play style with that pick, but it looks like Ginger Archer's got that Athena again, which is a scary, scary moment if you're Goosedra.
Yep, warning signs not read
They
there
will
by
all
Goosedra. First
obey
picking up that
their
Athena,
goddess.
very clearly a comfort pick for Ginger, as Ishtar also rounds off that first couple of picks. Goosedra seeming to ban out the jungle again, very, very worried about what Morton's potentially going to pick up again, as they pick up Hercules and hover over a Terra. Terra, I think, is going to be a much stronger, not only in the late game, but in the early game. Obviously, being a Guardian, a lot more protections and a little bit safer with the heals still being there. Goosedra drafting the front line of their pick here and rounding that off with a Merlin. Very, very different look from the first three of Goosedra.
It's a different look, but I like it a lot. I love the front line out of Goosedra here. Hercules, such a lane bully, and once you transition into that team fighting phase, just so much CC and setup for his squad. And Terra brings the same thing, ranged initiation, as well as healing, and then Earthen Fury, just being able to press 4 and shift a team fight into your favor with one button is always going to be good. And Merlin is just there to do damage off of all the setup that Goosedra already have. I like this top 3 out of Goosedra quite a bit.
It's definitely a much tankier top 3 than we saw last game. Hercules, we see a lot of the solo lane gods having shifts in the recent couple of patches, the changes to mitigations, but Hercules still being a premier pick here for solo laners. King Kai's picking up the Susanoo here. Susanoo into this draft. Merlin is definitely going to have to watch out there for a Susanoo. Definitely going to be a hard matchup there as the bans are being rounded off. Bakasura and Rama for King Kai's. Yanis and Agni, 2 mid laners banned away here. They're very clearly worried about how much damage that Maritak was able to do there from King Kai's. What do you think the mid laner needs to pick? Would you like to see the Scylla again here, or maybe like the Yu Huang is being hovered? Is that a good pick into what King Kai's have?
I feel like the Scylla would be just as good as it was last game, paired with that Athena. Interested that Goosedra and Kinkai's, neither of them seem to want to go back to that. Yu Huang is a very safe pick and would be good into that Hercules Terra just to make sure
Face
that
the wrath of a
doesn't get
sorceress
locked down by
scorned.
all the CC. But Morgan Le Fay is the one that's locked in. Another safe pick, but in different reasons. Morgan Le Fay has so much self-peel with that Sigil Mastery having the fear on it, the knock-up from the 2, movement speed from the 3, and just a CC immune ult should allow Maritek to be relatively safe in this mid lane, and Morgan Le Fay can deal a surprising amount of damage depending on the build path that Maritek opts to take it.
So we see the mid lane battle of Merlin and Morgan Le Fay that is going to be into this game 2. Heimdall picked up for Loki, a pick that he likes to play. Does Heimdall in this new meta with no crit, it seems to be that these ADCs are going towards the Executioner and Kinsize. Is Heimdall a good pick? It's definitely a safer pick than the Izanami last game.
I like Heim. I feel like his auto chain is good with the crit as well as with the sort of shred build we've been seeing more often lately because of that big third auto in the chain. But he does have that layer of safety that you mentioned to try and get away from the Susano. He can use that Gallarhorn to knock the jungler away, to knock the Ishtar away, and then hop in that crystal if needed. So I'm interested to see how Loki can pilot this pick, and it definitely has the potential to look good in this game.
Well, you asked for a different jungler here for Calvin. Humbat's locked in. Big amount of CC now in for Goosedra. This Humbat is going to be a much bigger threat in team fights in terms of, well, in team fights and in ganking as well. This Humbat's his powerful ultimate. We'll just see how well Calvin will be able to pilot that. King Kai's hovering the Odin here, it's locking it in to finish this draft. What are your thoughts so far at the minute? Is it too early to call? Goosedra very clearly have a couple of very strong late game picks in the Terra and the Merlin, but King Kai's not looking too bad either.
I feel like we could be in for another very back and forth game between these two squads. To me, it's going to come down to if Goosedra can execute their team fights well, because they have so much CC and so much initiation. Hercules can pluck a number of people. Hera can get the stuns and the roots off. Fear no evil out of the Hunbats. And then if you can just have all of that going on, the Merlin and the Heimdall will just be able to be free casting in the back, especially that Merlin with all the AoE damage he'll be able to bring. They could just blow up multiple members of kin size with just out of absolutely nowhere. Where on the other side, kin size have a lot of single target burst damage between the Morgan Le Fay and the Susanoo, which do have AoE capabilities, but if you can just pick out one person, say someone trapped in an Odin cage, and just blow them up instantly, you can use that number advantage to shift the fight in your favor.
The Athena perhaps not going to have quite the effect that it did last game, having the follow-up CC of the Scylla there, but still going to be a comfortable pick for Ginger Archer. Be very interested to see how Athena plays into this high single target, as you said, comp here by Kinkai's, as we're about ready to go into the game right here. Goosedra versus Kinkai's game 2. Are we going to be in for another back and forth? Well, it's only for us to see as the game starts out. I'd like to just highlight Puko as well, the Odin here coming out. It's a pick that I understand. I mean, we have Shinigami and Kakashi and Loki. If the Bifrost is down, are going to be trapped inside that Odin. It's all going to come down to, can this Puko Odin be on time and in the right places for these team fights? How are you expecting this Odin solo laner to play this pick?
I feel like the Odin will have a decent time. As you said, a number of members do get trapped into that cage. If he can make these rotations once we get towards the mid game to just set up for his team and lock in a couple members and allow Morton on the Susanoo to just kind of win the 1v1, because it's so hard to win a 1v1 against Susanoo once you get to the late game. Puka's just kind of needs to be there for the setup as a whole to allow his backliners to take their 1v1s or deal their damage within the cage onto some of the tankier targets.
This game seems to be in the early game in favor of Kinkai's. As the game will go on, if we're looking at another 30 to 40 minute game, Goosedra looking to be in the stronger position with some of their picks. So very interested to see how Morton on this Susanoo works towards the mid game, as we see him get a little bit of poke on into the mid lane here. Not too much to worry about at the minute, but Morton in very big command of his team last game. As we said, a lot of players putting on good shows, having high kill participation, but Morton last game on the Camazotz Battle of Hell used a lot to create space. And Susanoo, another god, I should say, who he is very well accustomed to. How differently do you feel that Morton is going to have to play this game compared to last game with the Camazotz?
They're definitely two very different picks. Camazotz kind of wants to have his ultimate, that Bat Out of Hell, to be able to use in reaction to things that happen to him, where Susanoo wants to use that Typhoon ultimate to initiate fights, to get things started. That giant knock-up and a lot of damage can really set up for his squad. So on this Susanoo, he needs to be much more of a sort of initiator for his team, which is a very different playstyle from what the Camazotz was. We could see a First Blood.
Beads forced out there onto OBX, the damage coming out, and manages to get the kill. First blood to Goosedra. Seemed like a confrontation there that was dragged out a bit too long. OBX maybe stayed a bit longer than he needed to. Everyone was looking a bit low, and Goosedra managing to take the advantage there on the first kill. Very, very good start for Goosedra.
Especially when you have a Terra in lane who kind of needs to hit level 3 before you can even consider yourself a god. They were able to get that pressure going and allow them to have the space to get to that level 4 mark where Terra will have all of her abilities and one of them a little bit more upgraded. And then just caught out OBX there, who, as you said, just extended that engagement for a bit too long, maybe feeling a little confident against the Heimdall, who's not quite as meta as the Ishtar is. but the damage from this Terra Heimdall together was enough to get that first blood.
Definitely a scary duo lane. Terra Heimdall want a lot of CC there, so Bede's down on OBX. He needs to be worried, especially if Calvin finally manages to get round to the duo lane for a gank. Hopefully, for Goosedra, that's a sign for more things to come. Unfortunate that the kill went over to the support, but Lockie will be feeling confident now as, unfortunately, we've got some issues here with production. I believe we'll be going to a small break whilst we can fix that for you.
I don't do this often, you caught me off guard. All of my friends said you moved out west. You tell me stories underneath sunsets. Could it be more than just one night? Kissing the cab ride, head turning left, right. Get a ticket for two to wherever you choose. Drinking some red out of the blue. You say my name with your accent, makes me remember how much I missed you. Hope you're planning to stay for a million days. You'll be my summer in December. Hey boy, trust my intuitions always. I'm not superstitious, I got lucky. Stole your heart and it was mine for the taking. I'm bad at pretending, you know I'll be true. Sunday mornings and midnight lights turn into songs that you watch me write. Stole your sweater on that night, you took a picture, keep by my bedside. So you're mine when you're gone, baby, please don't be long. I got my ticket to the west side. You say my name with your accent, makes me remember how much I missed you. Hope you're planning to stay for a million days. You'll be my summer in December. Hey boy, trust my intuitions always. I'm not superstitious, I got lucky. Stole your heart and it was mine for the taking. It was mine for the taking. It was mine for a million days, in a million ways. Stole your heart and I got lucky. Stole your heart and it was mine in a million ways, for a million days. I just wanna keep it going, like the night is never over. From tonight until the morning, I just wanna get to know you. I just want to, baby, get to know you. If you want to, I just want to, baby, get to know you. I just want to, baby, get to know you. so close. I just want to maybe get to know you if you want to. I just want to maybe get to know you. I just want to maybe get to know you.
Oh, something is happening. Maybe. Yeah. So, welcome back here as a fight is breaking out here onto the red buff of the Kinkais. So it looks like nothing will come of it. Apologies for that delay. A bit of a crash in production, but we're back as that little invade comes to nothing. Goosedra still up 1-0, taking a 2k strong lead here in the gold department. Looking a lot stronger start here for Goosedra, in a much better position than they were last game.
Yeah, this is exactly what you want if you're Goosedra heading into game 2 here. Get yourself off on the right foot so you can use that to make the late game go your way more consistently. Sorry, excuse me. We saw that they were able to take fights there in the late game, and so if they can just build themselves a lead, they should have a pretty good time of getting that done. Good combo out of the Herc there, but Odin very safe. We'll have to see if they can kind of play through this late game comp that they've drafted with this Terra and this Merlin to set themselves up to push us to a game 3.
Definitely what Goosedra will be hoping here. Not much action going on at the minute as we see Kinkai's a little bit deeper into Goosedra's jungle, looking maybe to get off a bit of an invade or wrap round to where Lockie is, but can't imagine this will be coming up to much. Bifrost is up, sorry, for Lockie, so looks like he will be able to evade Morton here as the ultimate does come out. Knock up, good, well played there by Lockie. Beads burned here from Morton and ultimate. Unfortunate for the Kinkai's jungler as he doesn't really get anything out there from Lockie. Well played there.
Yeah, that Galahorn giving you the knockup immunity kind of shuts down a lot of what Susano wants to do on these ganks. So it's a good use of it to make sure that he's able to safely survive that gank attempt and even get his own purple buff as he drags it behind the tower.
Yep, as we said, this Heimdall, much safer pick than the Izanami. Multiple forms, he's got forms of Peel. He has the ultimate if he needs to use that to get out, and the Bifrost. So a pick that Lockie, I think, is very well used to playing. A pick that he likes. He likes his safeguards. He likes his Jingweis, his Heimdalls. So especially with the damage that he was pumping out last game, we may be looking to him late game to be the answer to a lot of the questions that Kinkai's are going to be asking of their team fights, as we see a bit of a contest coming out here from OBX, but we'll back off to the tower as we see the support of Goosedra waiting around the corner. Not much will come of it though, as we see Calvin making his way just to secure this gold buff, but again, not much action coming out here. A bit busy in the mid lane, however. Calvin has jumped in. I can see big walls there down. Ultimate used. Very well played there. Ginger Archer manages to take out Calvin in the mid lane, however, and that is disengaged from Wolfie. Lockie, however, does manage to get the kill onto OBX. Very well played in response by Goosedra, making sure that Kinkai's don't take that kill advantage.
Yeah, good rotation towards the dual lane. They had that kill for sure wrapped up with that many people, and I feel like Goosedra could have just played it a little bit safer in the mid lane, knowing that your support is engaging in left. They were in a 2v3 in mid, and it cost Calvin his life on that Hun batch. Just too many members of Kinkai's around for him to deal with. But they at least do turn around that kill in the dual lane, as you said, to make sure that they're not falling more behind than needed in this early game.
OBX, one of the stronger ADCs, potentially people would say the strongest ADC. 0-2 at the minute as Maritek's taking a decent bit of damage. Good block there from the support. Manages to take down the mid laner. 2-0-1. Kakashi very comfortable on this Terra, laying down the law here on Kinkai's. Very, very well played there. Maritek not quite having the sensational start that he did last game, but it is still early. 2k gold lead for Goosedra with that. But I mean, duo lane for Goosedra looking very strong at the minute as Lockie manages to take the gold buff there on the side. Doctor, at this stage, obviously, we say it's too close to call at the minute, but these are very good signs coming out here from Goosedra. Where are you thinking the danger is going to come from King Kai's? Who are you looking to shut down this sort of resurgence that we're seeing at the beginning of the game from Goosedra?
I feel like he gets brought up a lot, but it's got to be Morton on this Susano. Regardless of the player, Susano is just a playmaking pick once you get into that late game. Trading ultimates and duo, though, might interrupt that thought.
Yeah, interrupt that thought as it looks to be maybe a third kill here for Lockie. OBX manages to dash out of harm, uses the wall as a block there, and unfortunately Lockie doesn't get to pick up another kill. But OBX looking to be under a lot of pressure here. Beads down, so unable to immune the ultimate there from Lockie. Well played from Lockie. Ginger Archer putting a bit of pressure, but I can't see this coming to much. It's an Athena, no, not a lot of damage there. Lockie looks to secure his purple buff. But yeah, going back to Morton, like you were saying.
Susano's just such a playmaking god, especially once you get towards that late game. His 1v1 potential is almost unparalleled. And if he can just position well in these later game fights, he should be able to turn it in favor of Kinkai. So he's definitely the one that if I were the Kinkais, I'd be looking to set up to play through and make sure that he's able to make it to that late game point without too much issue. He's about a level behind or so right now, but we are still only 10 minutes into this game. Plenty of time for him to get this damage online, to get that sort of one-shot potential that Susano has online.
Looking to put a bit of pressure onto the left side of this map. Kinkai is very, very focused on the leads that the duo lane of Goosedra have managed to put off. Gold buff does go the way of Kinkai's. Not much else going to come to it. But that's just Kinkai's looking to stamp their foot on the map, make their pressure known, making sure that Lockie isn't too comfortable here on the left side. As we see a gank coming out here from the support, and Lockie ultimate goes off. Beads used by OBX. A lot of damage used there. Lockie manages to secure the kill, but hang on, Morton has come around the back. Ultimate used, Shell used there to immune a bit of the damage. Calvin has made his way in. Not a lot of damage coming out so far, but there we go. The kill from Lockie, 3-0-1 now. Ginger Archer is the latest to fall there from Kinkai's.
If I'm Kinkai's, I'm cutting off the arm here and just trying to play through a lane that isn't duo. Lockie just looks so comfortable on this Heimdall and is winning the 1v1s, is winning, helping his team win the team fights, and now they're pulling the Gold Fury off the back of it.
Goosedra do manage to secure it, and Morton, in attempt to steal, manages to lose his life. Unfortunate there, tried to stem the bleed a little bit with that gold gap, but unfortunately has just managed to make things a little bit worse, falling a little bit further behind his jungle counterpart there. Good Gold Fury secure there by Goosedra. But like you said, cutting off the arm before it causes too much damage. Lockie is looking fantastic on this Heimdall, 3-0-2. Let's not forget Kakashi though, 2-0-4. The duo lane of Goosedra really are having a strong start to this game. OBX 0-3-0. It's not lights out, he's not too far behind, but Morton is definitely going to have to be looking for other means of getting his team ahead at the minute.
Yeah, 100%. 2-0-4 on a Terra. Got that first blood, did Kakashi, and has been able to develop a 2-level lead in support, which is not always the biggest of deals as Lockie gets aggressive once again using that ultimate. But when you're a Terra, that kind of is important. That extends the duration of that CC, that Earthen Fury, being able to get more points in it, makes it stronger. And then you just are able to get that all-important second relic before your opponent can just help continue to snowball what Goosedra has set up already.
And a lot of focus has been onto this Goosedra left side, but as I've just noticed, that's a solo lane tower. 13 minutes into the game, 2-level lead on Shinigami here. Very, very strong position for the Goosedra solo laner as another objective is taken down by Goosedra, and they're looking for more. Puko taking a lot of damage, puts the walls down. Shell used, probably not needed. I don't think there was a lot of follow-up there from Goosedra, but Goosedra, this is just like a completely different team from the first game.
It is. Maybe they handed the controllers to their bigger brothers or something, but they are just able to completely work the map right now exactly as they see fit. That solo lane matchup makes sense to me as a lot of damage is put onto the mid laner.
Oh, Maritek taking a lot of damage, living
One more
very
auto.
dangerously. Manages to get out alive. Wolfie showing his mid lane counterpart that he is to be afraid of him. The damage from that ice form almost taking out Maritek. As we said, Goosedra in firm control of this game. As their team grows stronger and as the game gets later, it's only going to get worse. Wolfie is going to be doing more damage as these items come online. And Terra, a premium solo laner in the late game, that ultimate is going to make it very hard for Morton and Ginger Archer to dive into the back and do what they need to do. With Puko being 2 levels behind and a tower down, how much impact do you think the solo laner for King Kai's is going to have on the map?
I mean, Odin Cage is going to do Odin Cage things. If he can manage to live long enough to position well and get that cage sat down, it's still going to bring exactly what you want when you lock in the Odin. Definitely not ideal for him to be about 2 to 2.5 levels down, but it's also a bit expected when you're laning against a Hercules. It's hard to keep up with what Hercules can do. And so falling a bit behind, while not ideal, is not the end of the world for this Kinkai's team. He has passed that level 12 mark. He's got that blink online now. And if he can just farm up in that lane, he should be able to still bring enough of a presence to make sure that Kinkai's have a fighting chance in some of these objective team fights.
Well, that objective isn't too far off. 15 seconds until that Gold Fury spawns back up. Both teams looking to make a strong presence around the Gold Fury. As Ginger Archer takes a little bit of poke there. Sunder onto him, but I don't think this is going to do much damage. But it looks as if Kinkai's are looking to make a stronger position here as Shinigami's teleported in, is into the fight, into the backline. A bit of pressure onto Ginger Archer, taking a lot of poke here from OBX. Big pull,
Good
ultimate
pull.
use. Not a lot of damage here. Maybe it's just a bit of a distraction as Goosedra are looking to take down this Gold Fury. They managed to take it. Unfortunately, the Susano ultimate doesn't manage to do enough. Puko looks to be through the... Yep, he has been killed there by the ultimate of Loki Heimdall. 4-0-2 and another objective here. I think it's fair to say that the shot calling from Goosedra has been much better this game compared to last game. There were times where they seemed a little bit disjointed. Hold that as Kakashi just take a bit of poke there, but will manage to get out. But going back to the shot calling, how in comparison to last game with the back and forthness of the game, how do you think they've set up this team comp to do in fights? How are they in this position that they are in at the moment?
It's just they're making such better calls, as you said, and then maybe the team comp is just focused better on whoever the shot calling is with that Herc and the Terra initiation. It's just a much more straightforward team setup as a whole. You have your CC from the front lines. You can send the Hunbats around to give you more CC with that Fear No Evil, and then just allow your backliners to free cast back there. It does make shot calling a lot more simple, and it's just managed to work out in their favor. They might also be more comfortable on these picks. Could be something that they practiced a lot more. But whatever the situation is, it is working for Goosedra as they pick up this Pyromancer and right to add even more to their gold lead. That's now around 8,000 here at the 17-minute mark.
Another objective going down onto Goosedra, really just stamping their control onto the map as Shinigami looks to zone out a little bit more. Just as Goosedra looking to take the bombs that they have found, just to take a little bit of pressure in the mid lane, mid tier 1 tower down. Gold lead almost at 10,000. Goosedra in a very strong position here. Much like we said, much different to last game, as we see OBX take a tower out in return to stem the bleeding a little bit. But Ginger Archer really hasn't had the same impact as he had last game. I mean, you can't really blame him. The follow-up isn't the same. I mean, an Athena into a Scylla is probably one of the most scary combinations you can come in, but it just doesn't seem like the team fight is there in the same way as it was the last game for King Kai's.
It hasn't been able to quite work just yet, but it could change once we get into some bigger team fights around this FG. Once Kinkai's had a chance to just farm up a little bit more, finish out some important items. Mayertech just finishing up that Rod of Tahuti as we're speaking of it, which is a big damage spike for the Morgan Le Fay. Going to hit so much harder with the passive off of that Rod of Tahuti, and maybe be able to follow up a little bit more off of what Ginger Archer is going for.
Yep, all eyes will be on Maritek. Very strong performance last game. Hopefully, we can see him replicate that a little bit more as this game goes on. And Lockie, speaking on Goosedra's side, being one of the best farmers in the league last season, showing how he is still this season one of the best farmers. Level 19 in 19 minutes. Definitely going to be hitting very hard as the team looks to position around this Fire Giant. Not much action is going to be happening yet. Both teams are going to be looking to ward up round, get some good enough vision, but Kinkai's are going to have to play this one carefully.
Yeah, Morton needs so much farm right now. He's 2 levels down. He did just finish that Crusher, which would be a good power spike for him. But Susano, as we've said a few times, is someone to play through if you're Kinkai's, and he needs to be able to catch up and try and get some good positioning around here. It looks like this Gooster team might be opting to just sneak away this Oni Fury, but they do crucially leave 2 over in the Fire Giant pit as this Oni Fury does go their way, not wanting Kinkai's to have the opportunity to steal the Fire Giant in response to that sound echoing across the battlefield. But if Morton can get a little bit more farm and manage to evade some of the wards and find a sneaky position around this Fire Giant pit, he could still get a lot of work done and allow Kinkai's to get back into this game.
Looks like this Fire Giant is going to be the thing that decides how the flow of this game is going to play. As we said, Goosedra managing to take another Gold Fury off the map. Shinigami making his presence known around the Fire Giant pit, dissuading the Kinkai's from putting too much of a presence there. That level 19 Hercules really must be a very scary thing to see. As we see Goosedra start up the Fire Giant, and there's not really much of a presence right now for Kinkai's. It seems that they're managing to chip away quite freely as Shinigami zones away the Kinkai's team as Puko jumps in a bit now. Goosedra manages to secure that through all of the damage put out there. Puko ult goes down to separate the fight a little bit. Shinigami takes down the CC'd solo laner as the Goosedra managed to push on towards the Kinkai's tier 2. They look to get aggressive here. That's big stun out there from OBX, trying to buy his team some time, but Lockie just doing too much damage. Maritek manages to get a kill, but Shinigami returns in favor. And that is a 3-for-1 for Goosedra and the Fire Giant. So it looks like these objectives are on the menu here for Goosedra.
Looks like they might even opt to try and go for this Phoenix here with the picks that they've gotten. They're stepping up into it. The Phoenix is down to half already. It is just 2 members left to try and defend, and it won't be enough. The bird just falls. That was just a super clean fight from Goosedra. They lose Calvin, as you said, but I'm sure that Calvin will always trade out his life for a Fire Giant, 3 picks, and a Phoenix on the right side. Just going to be worth it 9 to 10 times out of 10. There was potential there. Morton did get around on that Susano, had a flank position, used that Typhoon ultimate to try and steal away that Fire Giant. Just not quite enough to get the job done. But they positioned well on that defense once they saw that Goosedra was pushing in on it. Unfortunately, didn't work out in their favor this time. But as we saw last game, that first Fire Giant of the game, not the all-defining one. These teams are definitely capable of fighting back into this. So Kinkai's just need to weather this storm for the next few minutes and make sure that they're in a position to set up for the next Fire Giant.
Yep, not the be-all and end-all, like you said, but definitely very, very good signs here from Goosedra, who are looking to make this 1-1 heading into a Game 3. Towers on the menu as Shinigami and Kakashi just push up a little bit of pressure, waiting for their team to get up to take this tier 2 tower. Bomb is in hand, but you'd like to think that they would save this. No, bomb is used just to secure the gold there for the tower. Tower has fallen as they move over to the left side of the map. Going back to that fire giant, as the Goosedra managed to take this tier 2 tower here. Like you said, the ideas were there for King Kai's. Just in execution, it didn't quite work out. Morton got himself into a good position, like you said. Puko managed to try and create a bit of space. It just didn't seem like the follow-up was there. We didn't see a lot of damage coming out from OBX or Maritech in the fight until afterwards, down by the tier 2 tower.
I think Kinkai's might have been caught a little off guard. There were a couple members of their squad around that fire giant, but Goosedra just pulled it maybe sooner than expected from the side of Kinkai's. They were trying to make it over there in time, but just unable to do so. If they can get some better vision and try to fight for the positional advantage over here on this fire giant side for the next one, they might be able to execute that plan that they laid out a little bit better, as Gold Fury does go the way of Goosedra.
Gold Fury down, another objective down for Goosedra. Really have been in control of this from minute 1. 25 minutes down, 10-2. A big gold lead here for Goosedra, and looking to put a bit of ward coverage around this fire giant and just secure a good position for a defense here. Do you think Kinkai's need to take this fight?
I would like to see them at least send someone to try and get a cheeky steal. This is not enhanced fire giant yet. There's no reason to throw your whole squad at it and end up losing the game off the back of it. But we do see Ginger Archer at least stepping forward a little bit, which I don't mind, just so you know if it's a bait or if they're actually burning it. And with a Merlin, it's always going to be burning. That fire giant is low.
This fire giant looks to be a lot better fight for Kinkai's. Puko goes in, the damage has come down, and that's Calvin being taken down by Morton. A much better fight here for the Kinkai's as they secure the fire giant. A lot of damage now going over as Wolfie and Shinigami managed to pick up kills individually. Puko looks to fall as well. Kinkai's managed to take the fire giant, but the fight afterwards has not gone their way as the Goosedra, the order team, storms it up mid lane.
What a steal. I have to imagine that came out of the Odin who was in that pit there. A great steal attempt and a successful one at that. But as you said, they lost 3 members, and even without the fire giant, this Goosedra team just steps up, takes that right side Phoenix, and are looking to push into the mid as well. And I don't know what Kinkai's are going to be able to do on the defense.
Maybe just be happy with the Phoenixes at the minute as we see Kinkai's respawn. That's 2 Phoenixes secured for Goosedra, more gold, a much harder base to defend for Kinkai's. This is a much better position and a much more stable game. Kinkai's haven't really seemed in control of the game at any point of the game, really. We saw a good steal there coming out from them, but the fight on the back of it just did not go their way as Goosedra managed to pick up another objective. That's a bomb down. Fire Giant off the map, but with the map pressure that they have in mid and solo, you'd like to think that they're in a very good position to take the enhanced Fire Giant.
They've definitely set themselves up really well to continue into this true late game here once we hit the 30-minute mark and that Fire Giant becomes enhanced. But Kinkai's still in a position to fight it out. They stalled out this game by stealing that Fire Giant. They do lose 2 Phoenixes for it, but crucially, they are the easier 2 Phoenixes on the map to defend, being closer to that Fire Giant pit. And because this next Fire Giant will be enhanced, I feel like Kinkai's really need to step up to this next one, really need to make sure that they get these waves pushed out, they get some more farm under their belts to make the fight a little bit more even. And with Oni Fury about to spawn on the map, though, trying to deal with Oni fire waves in 2 lanes will make this a lot more difficult. So I like to see Goosedra over here to make sure that they secure yet another objective for their squad.
Yep, Goosedra looking to strengthen their pressure along the map. 28 minutes, just over a minute 20 seconds until that Fire Giant respawns, and about a minute 30 until enhanced Fire Giant. So let alone dealing with only fire waves, dealing with a team that has only fire waves and enhanced Fire Giant, it's going to be very hard for this Kinkai's team to defend. their final remaining Phoenix into that. I don't know how well their draft is going to do into this Goostra's offense. How well do you think they can defend, or do we need to see them take a fight outside of their base at the minute?
I feel like their siege defense is okay. Morgan Le Fay can clear the wave fairly effectively from afar, but if she does, she loses out on key CC potential and setup for the actual gods. And Susano really likes to flank around and get into sort of side positions, and that's a lot harder to do once you're on the siege defense. Much prefer to be Goostra if you're on the defense with that Merlin, with that Hunbats. But the Odin Cage and the Athena Taunt might help set up a fight underneath that Phoenix. And I feel like they at least need that sixth man to make sure that the defense can go their way.
Yep, we see Goostra putting a little bit of pressure onto the right side of the map here, just making sure that King Kais aren't confident in their ability to step up to defend this Fire Giant. And we talk about Maritek here. Not quite the celebrity scoreline that he had last game, not quite hitting the heights, but 17,000 damage, not much to scoff at, more than Lockie is doing at the minute. Not quite got his starter item upgraded yet, but is going to be very important in attempting to steal this Fire Giant. Hold that thought, however. Big fight breaks out. Ultimate's going out all over the place. Kakashi takes a kill down with the ultimate. Maritek manages to take one down in kind. Lockie, that is the ADC down for Goostra. A big pick there for King Kai's. And we see the fight engage on the back. Humbats has jumped in. Wolfie manages to take out Morton. The CC is rained down. Calvin takes someone out, but OBX managed to take out Calvin in trade. Wolfie picking up the remaining. That's a triple kill for Wolfie. 4-0-8, and that's a deicide there. And that's the game. Just like that for Goostra.
Yeah, that game is just completely over. A clean fight for Goostra. Now they can just walk into this Titan room and put it to bed.
Well, I don't think you could get two more different games than the ones we've just had. If anyone in chat was thinking this was going to be a blowover for King Kai's, well, clearly we've got other things coming. Goostra refusing to be 2-0'd by this King Kai's team and wanting to prove that they are going to want to be one of the stronger teams in the league. That was a very, very convincing team by Goostra on a much changed team as well. It is a very different draft. Very clearly, all picks they're much more comfortable on. But King Kai's are going to have to make some changes.
Goostra just only dropped 5 kills, excuse me, in that game. 4 of which were on Calvin, who was just in there trying to initiate, setting up those fear no evils so his squad could win the fight. But beyond that, I mean, just 3-0-12 for the Terra support. We have 4-0-8 for the Merlin in mid, 4-0-6 for the Hercules. Just an extremely clean play across the board for this Goostra team, who just found another level, dug deeper, and showed that they are not someone who's just going to fall to a favored team like Kinsize and are going to give it everything they've got.
Members of Goostra showing that they're not ones to be pushed around. Very good performance there by Shinigami and Wolfie. And Calvin putting on a good performance as well. A much better performance, I think, in the impact he had around the
100%.
map than the Habwa, apologies. But the duo lane of Goostra having a very, very strong performance as well. As we will be moving on to game 3. And we'll be moving on to game 3. Don't go anywhere. Game 3 will be here in just a moment.
I don't do this often, you caught me off guard. All of my friends said you moved out west. You tell me stories underneath sunsets. Could it be more than just one night? Kissing the cab ride, head turning left, right. Get a ticket for 2 to it going. Like the night is never over. From tonight until the morning. I just wanna get to know you. I just want to maybe get to know you. If you want to. I just want to maybe get to know you. I just want to maybe get to know you. Get to know you. Get to know you. Every day's another chance. I don't need to keep you waiting. You're the best I've ever had. No one else can take your place, yeah. And I think that you should know. I wanna feel you so close. And I think that you should know. I wanna feel you so close. I just want to maybe get to know you. If you want to. I just want to maybe get to know you. I just want to maybe get to know you. Get to know you. Get to know you. I just want to. Get to know you.
Welcome back, everyone. If any of you thought this was going to be an easy game for King Kai's, we're moving on to game 3. And last game was quite the difference from game 1. A very, very strong game from Goosedra overall. I could note about the individual performances, the duo lane both individually playing very well, pressure in the early lane, playing very well overall. But that was uncharacteristically quite overall poor from King Kai's. Morton didn't quite have the impact. Ginger Archer on the Athena wasn't quite able to get the use that he did in game 1 out of it. What do Morton and his team need to do differently? Is it simply a comp diff in the second game, or is it more they couldn't quite get their plan the way they wanted to?
I feel like composition definitely had something to do with it. It was just not the best setup that they wanted into the second game, but they also just might have been a bit overconfident after the first game and didn't give Goosedra the full respect and weren't able to quite get done what they wanted. But I like the Hercules band taking that away from the solo lane, working out because that the Hercules
I am
just
the
had so
king
much
of
pressure in that
beasts.
lane over the Odin, so taking that away is a good ban in my opinion. And the Hachiman Marticarus, who were banned, if I recall correctly, in
My
the
power
first two
cannot be
games, both getting
contained.
through here.
Yep, a new duo lane that we are going to see, Hachiman and Marticarus. Obviously going to be a very interesting matchup to see there. Kinkai's electing to take away the Hercules from Goosedra. Quite surprised that they haven't seen. Well, that answers my questions
Mother
there.
Earth
Was
is
about to
here
say
for
didn't
you.
didn't seem too afraid of the Goosedra Terror. Didn't, but they seem to have picked it up for themselves. Quite shocked that Goosedra didn't manage to pick up the Terror in the first two picks, seeing as how well Kakashi managed to do there on the God. So we'll get to
Our
see
deed
how
shall be
well
written in
Ginger
legend.
plays on this Terror. Rounding off their first three picks, Guan Yu, a very, very strong look for this Kinkai's team.
Yeah, I like the draft so far out of Kinkai's, using that Terra on your own side, kind of acting as a fourth ban as well as a good pickup for your team. And you pair that up with the Guan Yu, is going to be a lot of healing, a lot of sustain out of this Kinkai squad, and their initiation looks very good so far with the
I will spread
ranged stuns
night
and the roots
across
that
this
Terra can bring, and that
battlefield.
cavalry charge out of Guan Yu can just get so much done. But all of that is stopped by the Nox that's locked in for Goosedra here. I like this counter pick on the other side of the draft.
Yep, like you said, if sustain is the name of the game, Kinkai's are playing that game, but Goosedra looking to shut down a lot of that potential with the Nox there. The silence combo is going to be very important in this backline of Marticarus and Merlin, getting the damage off that they need to. Bans coming out, Agni, Humbats. Kinkai's very, very much valuing the amount of CC that Calvin was managed to put out in the last game. Not the best scoreline, but scorelines don't always matter. Calvin managed to get off a lot of Fear No Evils that were important in separating the fights there, so taking that one off the board. Odin taking away off the board as well, and Janus. Something we don't see banned away a lot, but very clearly worried about Kinkai's picking up the ability to transition the map very quickly.
Time to eat.
Goosedra picking up the Bakasura now. What are your thoughts, Doctor?
I like the Bakasura here. I think it's a good pickup for this Gooster squad. He can just farm the map better than almost anybody in the game with that Eat Minion ability, get that advantage, and then just rotate in with the Regurgitate, having that cripple, getting the true damage from Butcher Blades. It's just so hard to deal with the Bakasura in the early game, in the mid game, and then in the late game when he can just 100-0 any backliner. Especially against a Ra is an interesting decision for Kinkai's to lock that in. Ra doesn't really have too much mobility, just the movement speed from his passive. Gonna make it hard for him to get away from the Bakasura coming out of Calvin.
Very brave there from Maritek, picking up this Ra pick. We don't see a lot. Not really favoured in this meta, but we'll see how the mid laner for Kinkai's manages to pilot this. There's Morton on his tried and true Mercury, a pick that we've seen him play a lot in his time as the Kinkai's jungler, opting to pick something a lot more comfortable than the Susano perhaps. Sun Wukong rounding off the draft for Goosedra. Notably, with the Nox and the Bakasura, quite a squishy team for Goosedra. How do you think they're going to fare into this quite opposite, in the opposite way, quite a tanky team from Kinkai's, with this Terra probably going to be picking up a Lotus Sickle, being able to provide mitigations to the backline as well. How do you feel that Goosedra are going to deal with the dive from Kinkai's?
To me, it's just going to be about having more damage than the Kinkai's can deal with, because you can dive into the backline, but if you dive into Marticarus damage, into Merlin damage, into Regurgitate from a Bakasura, you're just going to get blown up regardless of who you are. So this is definitely going to be about if Goosedra can get off to a good enough start to make sure that their damage is always keeping up with the tankiness that the Kinkai's will be able to bring.
Two very different looks here from both teams. Marticarus, our first look in this set. We're going to be seeing how well the mid laner on Goosedra, Wolfie, is going to be able to pilot this god. Ra, on the opposite side, as I said, a pick we're not seeing very often, but we'll be seeing how well that does on the Order side. And as we look at these two teams, we're seeing a large amount of CC on Goosedra. We've got Nox coming up with the combo. Calvin is going to be able to provide the CC with the ultimate, and a lot of late game damage coming out from both teams here. Where are you looking to favour for who's going to take this game 3? Just by looking at these drafts.
It's got to go to Goosedra for me. I feel like they have some very strong damage picks. Their siege defense and their siege offense feel really good with the Merlin and the Marticarus. The setup that the Nox can bring is just so good to stop the dive that the Kinsais are looking to go for. And if the Kinsais are going to be able to find their way into this game, it's going to be on the back of this Raw. I feel like he's going to make or break this team comp. Mertek needs to show that this is a pick that he's comfortable on for a reason and get some good searing pains off to kind of blow up the damage that Goosedra is going to be able to put out.
He's going to have to rely on his team a lot to be able to hit those searing pains, so we'll see how that goes. But we're seeing OBX and Locky on two very, very safe picks here, Hachiman and the Marticarus. Marticarus obviously not having a lot of movement, but having the slight increase in movement speed in those patches of grass, and the self-banish CC immune ultimate. It's another pick, another safe pick that Locky is very comfortable on, so it'll be very interesting to see how this duo lane matches out as we see how much of a lead Locky managed to get last game. Don't know if we're going to see much of the same. Kakashi on a bit of a squishier god. Not. How do you feel about this Nox? Do you feel that the mage supports are a lot stronger at the minute, or would you have liked to have seen him on something a bit tankier?
I feel like the Nox is the exception to the mage supports. Nox still just has always felt like a guardian in recent years, especially with that Lono's masks just allowing Kakashi to get tanky very quickly. Doesn't quite feel the same as some of the other mage supports like the Hell and the Aphrodite or even the Baron. So I do like this Nox pick. It's very skill based. If you miss the combos, Nox doesn't feel like she does anything. But if you can land that silence impactfully or get the root off at the right time, it's so annoying to fight into the Nox.
Definitely one to watch out for there, Kakashi, who had a very, very strong game last game on the Nox support. 2 minutes gone, just about to turn 3. Not a lot of action as we see Calvin look over to this blue buff, however that has just been taken by the Kinkai's jungler. Not a lot of action here as both junglers are looking to scale into the late game. Can you see them? Obviously Morton with that ultimate is probably going to be looking down some of these long lanes here to channel this ultimate and get some relics or potentially a kill. But do you see either of these junglers really making an impact until later on into the game?
If one of them is going to, I have to lean towards Calvin being the one that can get it done, just because of the true damage on Butcher Blades. As we see a lot of damage going on to Kakashi, who could be in a lot of trouble for First Blood.
A bit of a mispositioning there, but Locky up with the ultimate. Damage down, not quite enough.
More
protections reduced onto Ginger Archer, but not enough to follow up there as the support from Kinkai's gets away with one. The positioning, he looked like to have gone a little bit deep, but Locky manages to turn that one round in just one ultimate. So well played there by the ADC on Goosedra, managing to bail out his support. But once again, that will come to nothing. And more importantly, as we see a gank come out from Calvin, OBX is stuck, does not have the ultimate. Beads are used to immune. Morton comes in with a big ultimate, doesn't manage to save the life, but manages to take down the support on the side of Goosedra. Doesn't look like much else is going to come here as Locky and Calvin back off. But that's a 1-for-1 trade. First blood, though, going over to Goosedra.
You know, you asked if these junglers were going to make an impact early, but didn't get a chance to answer the question. But I'm going to tell you, they're gonna. They are already getting active here in this dual lane, trading out 1-for-1. Both junglers making a big impact over there in that dual lane. It is a support for carry trade out, though. So advantage going towards Goosedra. You always want your carry to be the one that gets to live, gets to soak up that farm after a team fight. So good job out of Goosedra to make sure they got the priority pick, but Kinsai's did not give that up for free and do manage to at least get a kill back on their own.
Seeing a lot more action on this side of the map from Calvin than we did in the last couple of games. Maybe that's something after the last game, seeing how much pressure was put onto OBX and how he couldn't quite deal with it. So maybe that's sign of more things to come. Both junglers on each team managing to pick up a kill there, stamping their position as Calvin does manage to get the invade on the blue buff there. So that'll be a little bit of a hindrance there for Puko, not quite having that buff for himself. Gold going towards Calvin. But I shouldn't think it would matter too much. I mean, Goosedra does have the gold lead here, just over about 1,000. So good position, but not the end of the world. It's still early, and as if this is any sign of things to come, this could be quite a close game here.
It definitely could be. I feel like both of these squads have the potential to do a lot with the comps that they've drafted. My main concern right now, as the solo laners beat each other up and the cavalry charge is forced out, is Morten on this Mercury. It's a god that he's comfortable on, but with the nerfs to crit and the buff to spectral, you imagine that even if he goes that crit route, which we're so accustomed to seeing Mercury going, it could spell trouble should Kakashi pick up that spectral armor and just kind of make it really hard for Morten to get done what he wants to do on this Mercury in the jungle.
Definitely not a pick we see much because of the item changes. Calvin, however, on a pick that we're seeing a lot more of. Bakasura prioritized a lot by teams in the higher level. What is it that Bakasura brings? Is it just the amount of farm that he can take around the map? Is that what really draws people to this god?
Farm is definitely one thing. It's so easy to invade and just out-secure almost anybody on a buff with that eat minion. But the cripple from Regurgitate just shuts down a lot of what people want to do, and you have that true damage when you're using the Butcher Blades. It's just so hard to defend against because the true damage obviously gets through any of the protections that some of the tankier targets can get through, so you can blow up both backliners and frontliners with this Bakasura pick, assuming you can get off to a good start.
Yep, seeming to be battle of the junglers so far. It'd be very interesting to see who can take the bigger advantage coming towards the 10-minute mark. 7 minutes 40 on the clock. Objectives are going to start to come into the players' minds. Searing Pain is going to be a very, very big ability in controlling if King Kais can take that objective. It seems like for the lack of secure that Goosedra has around these objectives, they have a lot of burn. You know, Wolfie, Merlin being one of the best mages for burn on objectives. Marticarus is going to be able to burn down those objectives a lot. Calvin going to be allowed to burn them down. If as we progress towards the objective side of the game here, who are you favouring in this game?
Not to discredit your question, but you ever have 4 people rotate on your blue buff? That has got to feel so bad for me. I feel for that Guan Yu, but what Secure versus Burn has been kind of a tale of as old as time in the Smite world. As Calvin gets another kill, it could be trouble for Marticarus.
Yep, hold that thought as we see both junglers putting more pressure onto the game here. Morten and Calvin managing to pick up kills. That's still an advantage, though, it seems, for Morten, as he does manage to shut down the ADC of Goosedra. He managed to kill the ADC of Goosedra, so OBX will be thanking him for a little bit of pressure in the lane there, as Ginger Archer falls for Kinkai's. But yeah, as we said, 4-man invade on the blue turning into another kill, both for the junglers. It seems that the jungle is going to be the place that we are going to need to watch for all the action as Maritek takes 100%. Down a red buff.
And I feel like the burn versus secure that these two comps have really depend on how the fight is set up before the objective is looked at. If Goosedra can get good ward vision, make sure that Kinkais don't have vision around this Gold Fury, around the Pyromancer and the Fire Giant, then they'll be able to sneak it away because they can burn it down so quickly, as you said, with a Merlin and a Marticarus. But if Kinkais are aware of it, if it's a true dance around the objective pit, then Edge kind of go in the way of them with that Searing Pain, easily the best secure on the map, and they should be able to use the burn of Goosedra to get the objective for themselves.
Speaking of objective, it looks like Goosedra looking to take away this Gold Fury just by no one. There's not really much of a presence here from King Kai's sneaking away. It looks like they've figured out what they're doing, but maybe a bit too late. Looks like Maritek is too far away to use that Searing Pain, and the Gold Fury just goes away free there for Goosedra.
Goosedra just really wanted to make me look smart. They snuck away that objective just as I said they could and get it for completely free because there was no Searing Pain. They're even hopping over towards this Pyromancer to try to contest it out from Kinkai's picking it up themselves.
Yep, Wolfie looking to put a bit of pressure on, but as the ult is used from Terra,
they got
Goosedra
it.
managed to secure it. Very well played. Searing Pain does not secure the objective. Calvin manages to take down Ginger Archer as Puko manages to jump up on the horse, chases down, killing 2. That is 2 for 2 trade there with the Pyromancer going down to Goosedra. Wolfie taking a lot of damage on the tower here. Puko, just as I was about to stop talking, so much damage coming onto this mid laner here.
A lot of damage indeed. I was just getting ready to say that that's a worthy trade as you lose 2 for 2, but you get both the Pyromancer and the Gold Fury. But losing Wolfie there makes it a little less worth it. Still definitely in favor of Goosedra, to pick up both of those objectives. Losing 3 for it is not ideal, but it's not the end of the world either. They still definitely have the advantage in this game, still sitting around about a 1,000 gold lead after both those objectives are picked up. But it feels like the Kinkais are definitely still in this game. They're bouncing back after what was a very rough game 2 for them and showing that they have the mental fortitude to stay in this set.
Each team trying to take the lead from the other as we see fights breaking out around the Gold Fury. Not going to come to much, but as you said, King Kai's definitely still in this game, showing that even though they're not managed to get that objective, they're still pumping out a lot of damage. It was a very good rotation there from Puko, managing to take out the mid laner in the aftermath of that fight. And focusing around this solo lane, it's a lot much more of an even lane. As we saw around the 13-14 minute mark last game, Shinigami had managed to take a tower already. But 2-0-1 on the Guan Yu, managing to deal a lot of damage here onto Shinigami. Calvin turning the fight though, that's up onto the horse, but the damage is too much. Shinigami up in the air, just enough time for his jungler to make the rotation, forcing Puko into the ult, but not quite enough to get away there.
That is just ultimate trust in your jungler. Shinigami had what looked like could have been under 100 HP when he was up in that ultimate, but was able to wait it out and allow his jungler to get there on the rotation and turn that kill around. And that's just the safety that Sun Wukong can bring. Interesting beads there out of Maritek, but will make him a little less safe for a while, but not the end of the world.
Not the end of the world, but definitely going to be on Calvin's radar now.
Yeah.
That was unfortunate there from the mid laner. Not doing too bad though, keeping up with Wolfie in gold. We're sitting at about 13 minutes, 5-5. Goosedra with a little bit of a lead here, managing to keep their head above water at the minute, keep in control of the game as we are coming around to, as I say, the 14-15 minute mark of the game. Not huge amounts of leads anywhere on the map. I mean, it's OBX has managed to keep level with Loki. Maritek is actually a level or half a level ahead of Wolfie. Puko just behind Shinigami in gold. So gold being in favor of Goosedra, I should say, but XP wise and level wise, not too bad at the minute for King Kai's. So we'll be looking to see where they can push their lead from.
Definitely still a close game between both of these two squads. Gold Fury, or Oni Fury, I should say, has respawned on the map, and we see Kinkai's grouping towards it and even opting to pull it here. Goosedra might be aware of this as they start sending members towards here, and the fact that we see both solo laners rotating towards this left side of the map means that we are going to get a real dance and a real fight for this Fury. And now it's Goosedra with the aggressive positioning in the Gold Fury pit.
Aggressive positioning, Shinigami just getting towards the Gold Fury before his counterpart just blown up. Ginger Archer one step too far, as there's a 5v4 now around the Gold Fury. Puko up onto the horse just to create a little bit of space. Big stun, but there's no one there for the follow-up. As I say, that Morton ultimate's in, gets the kill onto the support of Goosedra, but 3 have fallen on Kinkai's. Make that 4. Shinigami picking up Maritek. 5. Locky joins in the fray as well, as the Gold Fury has gone down, and that's a lot of kills on the side of Goosedra as they make their way towards this mid lane tower.
5 kills going the way of Goosedra. They lose the Oni Fury, but absolutely win the fight. They decided to leash the Fury and back up to take the fight instead. And it was OBX who just picked up that Fury and decided to continue the burn on it, not helping out in that team fight. And by the time he had burned the Fury, the fight was already over. We just saw so much damage coming out of the side of Goosedra. They do pick up the Pyromancer on the back end as well. Calvin near 2, but he has his squad in the background. Shouldn't be too much worry, and it seems like they actually want to take this fight stepping forward to engage.
Goosedra feeling good about themselves. Ginger Archer CC'd down, has to use the ultimate to try and survive. Searing Pain, lots of damage. Ginger Archer manages to get the kill with the ultimate there. And up onto the horse, Puko goes yet again. Shinigami in the ultimate. Looks like they're just going to take that kill and walk away. As a bit of a response from Kinkai's there. Not quite allowing Goosedra to run riot around their jungle. But that was what they need to show at the minute. Just a little bit of a response. They don't need to necessarily wipe the team and take objectives. It's just they need to make sure that they're responding to this pressure from Goosedra.
Yeah, 100% agree. Just letting Goosedra know that, we're still in this game. We can still fight this out. You don't get to just walk around as if you own the entirety of the map is a good message to send from Kinkai's towards Goosedra. It looks like he did get that back off there in the grass. A good attempt rotation from the jungler here, who's still charging that ultimate. Might not know if he's in that grass or not. Searing Pain used, but he's going to notice when this Marticarus comes up behind him in the lane.
Morton waiting for the Marticarus to come out of the grass there. Well played by Locky. It seems like he knew that gank was coming and just decided to play a little bit of a cheeky prank on the jungler, wasting a little bit of time waiting for the gank to come across, as we are seeing the level lead and the gold lead stretch more and more into Goosedra's favor now. 5,000 gold or thereabouts. Some good level leads coming across. More notably, Calvin. It's 4-1-2 to 4-1-5 in Calvin's favor, but he has a 2-level lead. Is that just off the back of this Bakasura's ability to run around the map and eat up all the farm? And can we expect him to be able to make a larger impact with this level lead that he's got?
Yeah, it's definitely due to the fact that Bakasura is just one of the best farming gods in the game. Even with Golden Blade for the Mercury, he just can't keep up with what Calvin can do on this Bakasura pick. And Calvin has hit quite the power spike. He has that Hasten Katana with Chin Size and Executioner going for that penetration style build. And he's just going to eat through anybody who gets in his way. He is 6 levels up on the support, and we might be able to see that here in this fight.
Big sonic boom there, manages to separate the fight a little bit. Puko comes in, big stun. A lot of ultimates used here. Marticarus is up into the ultimate. Mortar manages to take down Wolfie. Calvin takes Puko down in trade. Shinigami goes up into the ult looking for a big slam down. Doesn't look like there's anyone for him to land on. Good blink there by Morton, manages to stay away. Looks like that will be the end of that. 1-for-1 trade, Wolfie for Puko.
Definitely still Kinsize are fighting back into this, and I talked about my slight worry with the crit coming out of Morton, but no Spectrals built on the side of Goosedra, which means that crit is going to hit really hard. Has that Deathbringer up, the Rage with a couple stacks on it already, and showed that he has the damage there. As it seems like Goosedra is pulling this Gold Fury on, but they might lose the Fire Giant in trade.
Yeah, not quite aware of Goosedra's, of Kinkai's, presence around this Fire Giant. Wanted to pick up a quick Gold Fury, but looks like they are going to lose the biggest objective on the map. The shred coming out from Kinkai's is enough. Shinigami can't quite get there in time. That is huge there for Kinkai's in their ability to fight back in this game.
That's just a lack of ward ward vision coming out of Goosedra. We're 19, almost 20 minutes into this game. Gold Fury is a great pickup, but you have to know that that Fire Giant is on the map and on the menu for either side to pick up, and you need to make sure if you don't have vision over there, you at least send someone to keep an eye on that right side of the map, and it goes against them there as they lose out on that first Fire Giant here in game number 3.
Yeah, as much as we can say that was Goostra's poor lack of awareness, I think that was a very good call from Morton, recognizing that Goostra were over on that Gold Fury and calling his
100%.
team over for the Fire Giant. But first Fire Giant of the game, not too big of a worry for Goostra. I mean, I don't feel like their Phoenixes should be threatened too much by this, but definitely going to be a big help in this Pyromancer dance as we see each team trying to wrestle control over each. It looks like Goostra are stepping up a little bit, just maybe for a little bit of a bait, as they switch their attention over to Puko. Bit of damage, down to half health. King Kai's, however, in the meantime, use that as a distraction to pick up the objective.
They do, and this early Fire Giant, as you said, shouldn't lead to Phoenix Sieges, but it just kind of evens out the gold lead that Gooster have. Fire Giant used to be equated to about a 10,000 gold difference. I don't think that's quite true anymore, but it definitely makes up for quite a bit. And with Kinsai's being about 3k down, it basically evens it out for the time being, which allows them to rotate and get that Pyromancer to get that tower in mid as they rotate towards this solo side to try and pick up the T1 there as well.
King Kai's looking to even out this game. It's giving them maybe a bit more of a lead once they finish with these towers. We'll see how far they get with that. But as we were saying earlier, the battle of the junglers is definitely ringing too. Both 5 and 1, stamping themselves, trying to wrestle control over one or the other to see who's going to have the biggest impact on the map. Meanwhile, however, a bit of a more quiet game for the ADCs. 0-2 coming from OBX, 1-1 from Locky. Maybe as the game scales on, and as Locky is managing to get more objectives, as Ginger Archer is taking a lot of poke here. But as the game goes on, these ADCs are for sure going to be doing a lot more damage and becoming a lot more important. As Goostra here stepping up for a bit of the fight. Ginger Archer has been CC'd down, but King Kai's not afraid of this fight. Puko up onto the horse, separates a bit the fight. Kakashi just takes way too much damage there. Shinigami jumps back down into 4, manages to dash out, but the follow-up is there from King Kai's as they look to take down the solo laner. Big 2-0 pickup here from the King Kai's, managing to take down 2 and a tower. Wolfie deletes OBX after the damage from Locky, shredding the protections there from the ADC of King Kai's. But overall, I think a good fight there for King Kai's, managing to take a tower and 2 off of Goostra.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. It's so hard to let someone lazy back in front of you. You want so badly to step up and just stop that back from happening. And the Kinkais use that perfectly to make sure they got a kill, but it might not work out for this Terra here, who is on the run. Regurgitate used, and Calvin will get that kill. But a good bait out of Kinsai's to set up for that siege to make sure that they get those towers. Not unfortunate for Goostra, but they do manage to turn around a kill onto OBX there. Wolfie showing that Merlin damage is definitely online with the pickup of that Soul Reaver. And this Fire Giant's getting close to respawning again. Will not be enhanced, but both squads definitely want to be here for this, and we can already see the positioning of Locky on this Marticarus to try and set up some ward vision to make sure that his team can safely step up into this pit and try to get this Fire Giant.
Ward vision looking to be in the Fire Giant in favor of Goostra, as the second Fire Giant of the game will be danced around. King Kai's looking to respond a little bit to the pressure that Goostra are putting up. They really want this kill onto Morton as he dashes out of harm's way. Meanwhile, on the right side of the map, OBX is just being bursted down, chased down by Wolfie, manages to get the kill. Terra ult used for the team there, stunned by Shinigami. Puko taking half his health and damage. It looks like Goostra are going to be able to continue this charge here. Puko CC, Ginger Archer as well in battle on the speed buff. Morton uses the ultimate here to get a bit of damage, but has walked into 5 members of Goostra there. Unfortunate from the jungler from Kinkai's, as it looks to be Goostra's Fire Giant.
Morton, used to being the playmaker for his squad, sees the opportunity to get a 5-man Mercury ult and does hit it, to his credit. But then you're just a Mercury trapped within 5 people with no team to support you. Not working out for him. Kin Kai
Oh
steal
my
away
God.
the Fire Giant with just the raw one. He didn't even use Searing Pain.
No ultimate, no problem, says Maritek, as he manages to just get in range to hit that one. Sorry, no searing pain needed. Very well played by the Kinkai's mid laner there. Saved his team from what could have been a very, very unfortunate play. If Goosedra could have got that Fire Giant, it might not just be this tier 2 tower that's being threatened, it would have been their Phoenix.
What a steal out of Mertek there, just extending this game, allowing his squad more time to make sure that they are the ones who can come back in and try to get this important Game 3 victory. As you said, it's still Goosedra who has that lead. They do still get that tier 2 tower over there, but that would have been a Phoenix Siege for sure with the Fire Giant around their waist. Instead, they'll back up towards this Oni Fury. Hopefully they can secure at least this objective.
Doesn't look like Goosedra are going to be able to burn this down in time before Kinkai's make a presence. Ginger Archer steps forward. Kinkai's searing pain this time steals Maritek, the stealing god, as Lockie goes up. Morton manages to take down Wolfie. Calvin, one in trade. Calvin double kill here as Ginger Archer falls. They may have lost the Gold Fury, but they are winning the fight afterwards. Huge ultimate by Morton to give his solo laner a little bit more breathing room. Damage goes down onto the support of the Goosedra as he's going to walk into Morton. Morton going to thank very much to mop up that kill. Looks like Lockie and Shinigami are in a bit of no man's land here as Puko manages to pick up that kill. Shinigami maybe looks to fall here soon as he uses the dash, but Kinkai's hot on his tail, and that looks surely like, yep, that's another fall. That's a 4 for 2 in favor of Kinkai's and a Gold Fury.
It was an Oni Fury, crucially as well. So those Oni minions, while that fight was happening, have been pushing down all 3 of these lanes, setting up even more pressure for Kinkai's here. And Mertek stealing both of the major objectives on the map on this Raw is just doing everything for his team right now to make sure they stay in this game. And then Morton, not wanting to let his mid laner down, steps in and has a very clean fight there around that Gold Fury pit. A incredible ultimate out of him to set up that fight going in their favor, because Goosedra seemed like they wanted that fight after the objective was stolen, and they might have been winning it for a few moments, but Mercury came in and did his damage because there is still no Spectral on the side of Goosedra. It looks like maybe Kakashi will be building into it for the moment, but until that's there, Morton's just able to run through this team.
Yep, might be a little bit too late to pick up that Spectral Armor, but we'll see how much of an impact Morton is able to have on the rest of the game. Definitely huge impact in that fight there, saving his team from what looked like surely to be a losing fight. As we have about a minute left on this Fire Giant, and it's probably going to be the most important one of the game. Just about 1,000 gold, if that, lead for Goosedra. Towers stripped down from both teams, only one remaining, and this Fire Giant may be enhanced depending on what time they take it. Surely if it goes a little bit further than it being a quick fight, it will be an enhanced Fire Giant. So this could be the one that decides the winner of this game. But this has been a lot more of the game one Kinkai's and Goosedra that we've seen. It's a very back and forth, nowhere near as bad as game 2.
It definitely has been an extremely close match. At one point, it was around maybe, I want to say, a 7,000 gold lead for Goosedra, but Kinkai's have just fought back in so well to bring this gold lead down to where it doesn't necessarily mean too much now. And these two squads, this, as you said, this is an important Fire Giant dance. All 5 members on both sides are over here on that right side, and I do see that Kakashi has picked up that Spectral Armor to try and mitigate the damage that Morton will be able to do on this Mercury. But on the other side, Calvin is 9-1-5 on the Bakasura. He has been a threat this whole game, and there is no Spectral Armor to stop him. He's going to go in and he's going to do his damage, and with the pickup of that oboe, he's just going to be swinging at Mach 7 with those auto attacks.
Yep, the pen build is going to be swinging hard as we see a fight start off. Ginger Archer dashes in, ultimate up, Lockie into the air with Kakashi in tow. Morton into the back line, but beads used to peel the fight away a little bit. Shinigami drops down onto the jungler of Kinkai's here. It looked like it was going well for Kinkai's there, but they are in a little bit of a retreat right now as Goosedra seems to be pushing forward a little bit more. Looks like they'll just step back, heal up a little bit, and let Goosedra take control of the Fire Giant. But this is a very precarious position for Kinkai's to be in. Not a lot of that's Puko. As Puko dashes in, Fire Giant has been dropped. Locky taking too much damage there. He's been sprouted into the Fire Giant. Maritek takes that kill. Thank you very much. Morton bursted down there by Wolfie. Wolfie has been jumped on by the solo lane though. It's a very scrappy fight. We've got a fight in front of us. Shimigami manages to take down OBX. Calvin manages to take down 2. Brilliantly played there by Goosedra, losing their ADC, but it seems like they have been able to take out the entire team of Kinkai's if they can manage to get Puko here. Horse is up. Will it be enough? It looks like no. Shinigami manages to hit the one there. Very well played there by Goosedra as they take this enhanced Fire Giant.
It will indeed be enhanced. They danced enough for that to happen. It won't go on to the ADC, but still, what a fight out of Goosedra. Calvin did so much damage there, as well as Wolfie just making sure that that fight went in their favor. I was getting ready to think that maybe Kinsai's would have liked that engagement because they have the sustain from the Terra, they have the sustain from the Guan Yu, but the threat of that Fire Giant getting pulled forced them to go in before they had the time to use all of that sustain they have. And Goosedra just punished them for kind of stepping in a bit panicked to try and make sure they could steal it. They also made sure to get that kill onto Mertek, who did turn one around for his team, but you don't want this Raw with the ability to steal any objectives. So it seems like Goosedra just want to take the fight, win it cleanly, and then move to the objectives, learning their lesson from the last Fire Giant and Gold Fury.
Yeah, as we take a look at the damage chart quickly, Goosedra dominating the damage and highlighting Maritek just very quickly. 14,000 damage at the minute compared to 26,000. He's been stealing objectives, but he's not being able to get a lot of his abilities off or landing them quite as successfully as he'd like to. As a Fury goes down for Goosedra, as they're looking over 4 pyro bombs here for Goosedra. That is a very scary sight. Definitely going to be looking towards the Phoenixes here of Kinkai's as the Sonic Boom comes out from Morton. They're looking to fight this outside of the base. Morton bit off a bit more than he could chew there. Wolfie takes down the jungler for Kinkai's. Ultimate comes out. Sprout used to buy a bit of time, but Shinigami, look at all those bombs drop onto the Phoenix. That goes down easily. Puko taking so much damage here, and Goosedra just waltzing into the base of Kinkai's.
Yeah, I feel like the 4 bombs were the reason that Kinkai's felt like they had to fight outside of the Phoenix, but just a little bit too early on the engage was Morton. He pays for it and goes down. This middle Phoenix should end up falling fairly quickly, but a good damage out of Mertek.
Mertek manages to hit that Searing Pain, gets the kill. The Phoenix will fall. So, good big, and the damage from Wolfie. Beautiful. Where did he go indeed? That's 1 fallen on the side of Goosedra, but that's 2 Phoenixes for them. So you've got to think that they're happy with that.
Yeah, who needs an ADC with EFG when you have 4 ruined bombs in your pocket? Those Phoenixes disappeared just the same as OBX did from that Merlin damage. A fairly clean engagement there from Goosedra, just reacting to the fight outside of that left side Phoenix, dealing with what Morton was trying to bring on that Mercury, and then just moving from left to right to get both of those birds, giving themselves quite the advantage here for this next EFG when it will spawn. Puts their gold lead at right around 9,000 or so, so just about at that 10k mark that makes it so hard to fight back into. And with 2 birds down, especially since it is that left side bird that is so hard to defend and step up to the Fire Giant, it's going to be quite difficult for Kinsai's to step up to this EFG, but I feel like they have to at least try.
Goosedra firmly in the driving seat to take this next Fire Giant. Like you said, I think at this stage of the game, with the gold lead expanding, I think it is, as you said, all or nothing. I think Kinkai's need to show some sort of presence. That we know Maritek can steal objectives, but the question is, can he get close enough to the Fire Giant to steal it? As we see a bit of a maneuver round the the Order side jungle, turning around into a fight. Locky goes up into the ultimate. Nothing there, unfortunately, for the ADC. They will look to back off instead, heal up in base, and position themselves around this fire giant.
I like that decision out of Goosedra because of how good Meritech has been at stealing these objectives. Force them to fight in the jungle and not in the fire giant pit. Not to mention, there are fire minions in 2 waves that Kinkai's have to worry about. The one in left got almost to that Titan room as more fighting breaks out here in the pit. A good blink in from Calvin.
Calvin just obliterates Maritek, now no longer needing to fear the Ra's objective stealing. Beads also forced out of OBX earlier in that fight, so the ADC of the Kinkais is going to have very, very tough time in stepping up for this objective. Morton round the back looking to land a Sonic Boom as we see Kinkai's Titan under attack. Morton instead uses that ultimate to escape here as Goosedra start to collapse on the engaging members of Kinkai's. A lot of damage, but not a lot of deaths we see on the screen. Calvin jumps in to put some pressure on Puko. Morton has turned back up, blows Calvin up, as we also see Shinigami die as well. Morton, that's a double kill onto Wolfie, the jungler, managing to put his stamp onto the game again. With Kakashi not around, the Spectral Armor is not providing a lot of protection against this team. Locky and Kakashi looking to try and start a fight here, but the positioning not great. B's used by Locky, and this was maybe a little bit too greedy here from Goosedra.
Interesting decision making out of Goosedra there. They had the fire giant so low, but were worried about the steal from both Morton and Puko and just dropped the fire giant instead, trying to take the fight. And it seemed like that's exactly what Kinkai's wanted. They win that fight completely cleanly, get the full deicide, and don't even care about the fire giant at this point. They're just trying to get this right side bird. A bit slow going as they don't have a wave, they don't have fire giant, but they will end up getting it. And the re-engage out of Goosedra, you've been in the lead for this whole game, but you were down members. The lead has been kind of shrunk a little bit. I don't know if I like that call, and it's giving Kinkai's the ability to just step up into this pit and grab this EFG. The crit can allow them to burn it so much quicker, especially with the secure from Mare in mid. This game has once again been flipped around.
Secured there by Maritek. Shinigami putting up a little bit of presence, but never seemed to be that much able to steal away the objective. Kinkai's lead effectively completely gone now. It's a dead even game. The only difference is Kinkai's have an EFG and Goosedra have a Phoenix down as they move their way over to this Oni Fury, which is only going to make things harder for Goosedra to defend. Kinkai's really are showing up in the fights that matter. Morton using his ultimate earlier to escape the fray that he was getting put in, but turning up just in time to help his fight in that team. So we're seeing the 11-4 jungler managing to keep pace with his counterpart.
He's doing a great job of making his presence known on this Mercury, even with the Spectral getting picked up on the other side. He is doing so much damage, and he has good setup and is just positioning well in these fights. Goosedra have quite the task set before him here to try to defend against EFG with their right side Phoenix down. Oni waves pouring in all 3 lanes with Oni fire on the right. Luckily, Marticarus quite good on the siege defense in the for an ADC, and Merlin probably the best siege defense character in the game. Give them the tools to try to make this happen.
As we see them attempt to put some pressure onto the 2 remaining Phoenixes of Goosedra. We're seeing Goosedra put up a little bit more of a defense here on this left-hand side. Marticarus, as you said, able to clear the waves pretty fast. Kind of turning Kinkai, making them think twice about going in. However, Ginger Archer tanking up this Phoenix. There doesn't seem to be anyone with him here, so he just takes quite a lot of poke. Maritek, hello, searing pain onto Wolfie. Wolfie was not expecting that. Both relics down, unable to stop the damage there. Morton sneaks him around the back, but he was found out by Calvin. That's huge there from the jungler on Goosedra, turning this fight. Trades out his life for OBX there. Locky managing to pick up another kill. Maritek soon to fall. It seems like whenever one team gets a hold of this game, the other just takes it from them straight away. Deicide here for Goosedra.
This game is so back and forth, exactly as you said. I don't even know what to say. With the Phoenix took almost no damage. I don't know if OBX was the call was just to fight for some kills, but there was just they had EFG. They didn't need to worry about anything. But it's like he only threw 1 or 2 autos towards it. I thought for sure once we saw Shinigami have to rotate back to deal with that Oni Fire Wave and right, it would be the go button and an easy Phoenix cleanup for Kinkai's, but it doesn't end up working out that way. The Phoenix still stands on that left side, and now it's once again flipped as Goosedra are the ones who do manage to get down here and take out that important left side Phoenix here as Fire Giant gets close to respawning in the next 40 or so seconds. Both sides have a Phoenix down now. The gold is not very different between these two squads, and most people are done with their builds at this point. We're at a completely even game that could go either way. It's going to come down to one all-important team fight in this Fire Giant pit once again.
Someone needs to take hold of this game and drag their team through the mud in order to win it. Looks like it could be one of the junglers on either side. They have been the core of their teams. Calvin, 24 out of 30 in kill participation, really has been the driving force of this Goosedra team. Wolfie, not been too bad either. He's dealing 40k damage, the same as Locky, 41k damage. So you would like to think in team fights, if they can hit the CC that they need, they definitely have the advantage, but we see each team position themselves a little bit further. Goosedra having the advantage in this Pyromancer fight. Ginger Archer trying to push forward a little bit, but it looks like they'll be giving this one over to Goosedra. Not too much of a presence. Morton instead. Kinkai, I spoke too soon. Why did I think I should doubt Maritek? Searing Pain steals away the objective as Morton is split pushing, taking a mid lane Phoenix. Goosedra decide all chips in. Fire Giant time. Looks like they're about to take the Fire Giant. They hold it for a little bit to try and give Shinigami a little bit more pressure. They've taken the Fire Giant, but the healths are very low. Ginger Archer pushing forward. Puko dealing a lot of damage here, and Shinigami pushing the solo laner away as we see Locky pressured out by 4 members of Kinkai's. Morton manages to take down the ADC. This is looking to be good night here from Kinkai's.
Merlin damage good, though, to at least slow them down, but they saw the split push out of Morton. They saw that Searing Pain was used on just the Pyromancer. I liked the call to immediately pull that Fire Giant, but Kinkai's were ready for it and did so much damage on the back end of it. Mid Phoenix is down. Those fire waves will be a little bit hard to deal with, but Goosedra still have 4 strong with EFG around their waist. As long as they don't get picked out walking through this jungle here by the trap that's being laid by Kinkai's, they still have a very good opportunity to get in this game. What could have been an end with maybe 1 more kill, again, will put us back to a state of relative evenness. If nothing else, advantage Goosedra because of that EFG and the harder to defend Phoenix over there in the left lane.
Goosedra pushing forward now, as you said, 4 with Fire Giant on their waist. They're going to have to try and make something of this Fire Giant here, because they haven't really managed to do much with their leads. It's been very back and forth, as we said, so it would be good to see them take a bit more of a foothold in this game. So you see Shinigami rotate around to this mid lane. 3 other members looking to post on this right side Phoenix. The defense from Kinkai is not quite as strong as Goosedra, but the ability to clear the wave is from a safe distance from Ra definitely going to help. As we see a little bit of a dance outside
their
the
siege
speed
defense
buff.
is not, as you said, it's not bad. Ra can clear the wave safely with that first ability. Hachiman has good poke with that eagle eye extended autos, but not as exactly ideal as it looks like. Goosedra are pushing into this mid Phoenix. Lots of damage coming down already.
Locky back up into the ultimate, but in the back line, however, Calvin bursts down Maritek. That's huge there from the jungler. Ginger Archer just managed to get the kill there. Shinigami killing off Puko, who was trying to create some space for his team all the way in the backline there. It looks, however, like this Phoenix is going to fall as Loki remains alive. OBX being pressured out. Ginger Archer taking a surprising amount of damage. Morton in the back trying to kill Wolfie NB. He has managed to kill him successfully and will run around in the jungle to try and give his ADC in the back a bit more of a breathing room, as we see Ginger Archer still pressuring out, but that looks like it will come to nothing. So Phoenix down for Goosedra, but a couple of kills on the side of King Kai's, hopefully dissuading this Titan push.
That kill that Morton got onto Wolfie was massive. I feel like with that mid Phoenix falling, the left Phoenix on its final legs there already weakened, that could have been the game. But Morton once again shows up, gets that pick onto the opposing Merlin, and just allows his team a little bit more time. Keeps that door from closing, keeping a little crack in it so they can continue to fight into this game. Mid Phoenix close to respawning from Goosedra will allow them the easier time stepping up towards this next enhanced fire giant. But it's not something Kinkai's can give up for free. They have 2 lanes to try and defend from, but this is a must contest fire giant. Could be even more trouble though if Archer gets picked out. He will safely be able to walk away. Terra, very tanky this late into the game. But once again, we're at a position where there's a team with a bit of an advantage, but it could go either way depending on which direction this fight goes.
Kinkai's taking away the Pyromancer there as Morton just distracting the Goosedra roster back down by the green buff. Just sort of making sure his team could secure that without any pressure from the backline. But as we said, Fire Giant, the most important objective on the game. 45 minutes, enhanced Fire Giant. Will this be the one that settles the game? If any of the others have gone to show anything, probably not. But we will see Goosedra take up a little bit more of an aggressive position. Shinigami looking to zone off. Ginger
Burning
Archer,
fast.
who's burning fast. Maritek, who's been so good at securing these, misses the Searing Pain just at the wrong time. Loki, Goosedra, apologies, securing that. OBX taking down Shinigami. Morton, oh my god, this has turned around so badly here for Goosedra. King Kai is managing to pick up 2. Loki being put under a lot of pressure here.
Oh,
OBX
no.
taking that kill. Calvin falling as well. King Kai is losing the Fire Giant, but OBX with a triple kill to turn this in favor of Goosedra, who are storming it down mid lane.
That has got to just be the game. Fire Giant goes the way of Goosedra, but the fight did not go their way. Morton dealing so much damage, and they're just walking into this mid Phoenix. It is just Kakashi on this Nox to try and slow them down, and a single Nox is not going to be enough.
Looks to be an inevitable finish finally from King Kai's. 47 minutes. They've had to work for it, but they will win this game 2-1. If you were hoping for an easy set, an easy short set this tonight, clearly it's been otherwise. King Kai's have had to work for this win. It's been very tough, but they do eventually knock aside Goosedra. Very entertaining set to watch. Overall, Doctor, what are your pickups from this game? Obviously, we had who were potentially the fan favourites, you could say, in King Kai's, struggling quite a bit in game 2 to really put a foothold in the game, and Goosedra, who never really could use any of the leads they gained to an advantage.
Yeah, this is one of those where if you look back in the future and you just see the score line of 2-1 Kinkai's win, you might think, all right, well, Goosedra, put up a bit of a fight, but Kinkai's, the favorites, do get an easy win here. But that couldn't be any further from the truth. Goosedra looked so good at so many points within all 3 games. Obviously, game 2, they looked incredible and just kind of ran the show, proving that they do have the ability to just take over a map. But even in the games they lost, they were so back and forth the whole time. Both games 1 and 3 coming down to a single fight, just not quite going in their favor. Kinkai's managing to just have a little bit more team cohesion in those must-win moments to get the set win here today.
Very impressive game from all. Hopefully a sign of more things to come, as it was a very, very entertaining set. Unfortunately for Goosedra, though, we do see King Kai's join Circadian Rhythm at the top of the league. That will be rejecting Goosedra down to the bottom. It's only the first game week, though. It's not too much to worry about. I'd like to think that Goosedra just have a few things to work on, maybe some just some shot calling and some just general team fight work, and they could potentially be be considered to be one of the best teams in the league. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, they have the definite mechanics for it. All of their players looked very confident on those picks. I agree with what you said. Just working on a bit of the macro plays, and if they can fix that up, they're definitely going to be a team to contend with here in the mid division.
Well, again, very, very entertaining set. I was very, very happy to cast that one. 2-1 to King Kai's. Goosedra have a lot to be happy about. They showed their strengths. Be very excited to see what happens with them for the rest of the league. Thank you, everyone, for joining me and Doctor in this cast. I hope you have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you later.
I don't do this often, you caught me off guard. All of my friends said you moved out west. You tell me stories underneath sunsets. Could it be more than just one night? Kissing the cab ride, head turning left, right. Get a ticket for two to wherever you choose. Drinking some red out of the blue. You say my name with your accent, makes me remember how much I missed you. Hope you're planning to stay for a million days. You'll be my summer in December. Hey boy, trust my intuitions always. I'm not superstitious, I got lucky. Stole your heart and it was mine for the taking. I'm bad at pretending, you know I'll be true. Sunday mornings and midnight lights turn into songs that you watch me write. Stole your sweater on that night. You took a picture, keep by my bedside. So you're mine when you're gone, baby, please don't be long. I got my ticket to the west side. You say my name with your accent, makes me remember how much I missed you. Hope you're planning to stay for a million days. You'll be my summer in December. Hey boy, trust my intuitions always. I'm not superstitious, I got lucky. Stole your heart and it was mine for the taking. It was mine for the taking. It was mine for a million days. In a million ways. Stole your heart and I got lucky. Stole your heart and it was mine in a million ways. For a million days. I just wanna keep it going, like the night is never over. From tonight until the morning.